24-year-old sales consultant Stephanie Wishner is suing 23-year-old medical assistant Marlena Collazo for assaulting her outside a bar. Marlena says Stephanie instigated the fight by getting in her face.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 131 on the calendar in the matter of Wishner versus Collazo. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Wishner, your claim is that the defendant assaulted you in a bar. You claim that she assaulted you both inside of the bar and outside of the bar later in the parking lot. Did you know her before this evening?
No, ma'am.
You had never known her before December 13th?
Yes.
Never spoken to her before?
Never.
Okay. So why don't you tell me about at least your version of what happened that evening?
Several friends of mine, we all decided that we would meet at a local bar, then go bowling, and then go back to the bar afterwards. So we all met, and that's where I was introduced to Marlena by a friend of mine.
Who's Marlena? That's you, Ms. Collazo.
Yes. And we then went bowling.
Who went bowling?
Mike, myself, two friends, Marlena.
So she went bowling with you?
Yes.
Okay.
I never really carried on a conversation with her because I didn't know her. Then after bowling, several hours later, we then went back to the bar to just hang out, have a couple drinks, and just socialize. And that's when Michael had asked me that Kristen was coming down.
Another girl was coming?
Yes. And he had said that she liked him. He asked me if I would go along and say that I was his girlfriend. I said, that's fine. Marlena was on the other side of the bar, sitting with Kristen. They were carrying on a conversation.
So Marlena, Ms. Collazo, was sitting at the other side of the bar with this girl who had a crush on
Michael.
Michael?
Yes.
Okay. Gotta get me a scorecard here.
Michael and I were standing there talking, and before I knew it, Marlena had come up behind me, grabbed the back of my hair, and yanked my head back, and began to yell at me and call me a liar and said that I had lied to her. And
lied to?
I had lied to her. She said that I lied to her or lied to Kristen. Michael had asked her to leave, so she had left the bar. From there, Kristen came up to me. She's like, I'm really sorry. She's like, you know, we were just standing there having a conversation. She's like, Marlena was supposed to come up and confront you and Michael about the situation, if you were lying or not. She's like, I never expected her to pull your hair.
So Ms. Collazo left because Michael told her to leave?
Yes.
And she left the bar?
Mm-hmm. I wanted to know why she had pulled my hair. I went outside. I was standing there on the edge of the sidewalk. Her car door was open. She was getting into the car whenever I had asked her why she'd pulled my hair.
How far away from you was she when you asked her that question?
I don't know.
Point to something in this room.
She was probably like where the flag is behind you, the navy blue flag on the right-hand side.
Okay, so pretty far away.
There was a pretty good distance between us.
Okay.
I didn't leave the sidewalk. I stood there and figured that I would carry on the conversation.
So you shouted to her, why did you pull my hair?
Exactly. I just wanted to know. I didn't care.
Why did you pull my hair? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Go ahead.
From there, she had shut the car door and began yelling at me. I guess she felt threatened that
Tell me what she felt. She shut the car door and started to yell at you. What did she say?
She just called me a liar and said that I lied to her about the whole situation when I didn't lie to her. I lied, you know, to Kristen. And she approached me.
So she left the car and came to you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
From there, we continued to exchange words, and before I knew it, she had jumped on me and slammed my head up against a car. It was a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I did $400 worth of damage to the car with my head that she bounced off of it. From there, she continued to jump on me and beat on me. She had scraped my face with her nails, pulled my contact out of my eye, and every time I tried to get up and get away, she continued to jump back on top of me. I had a bruise on my left inner leg from continuing to fall. Numerous times I had asked her to get off of me, that I wasn't going to fight her. I tried pushing her away, and when I pushed her away, she then bit me on my hand. And I have pictures if you want to see.
I sure do.
She had bit me on my left hand in between my thumb and my pointer finger. The pictures are really hard to see. I have scars on it from where she bit me. From there, finally somebody came outside and pulled her off me long enough for me to go inside and call 911 and have the paramedics come.
Okay, now you hit somebody's Grand Cherokee, and reading between the lines in your complaint, I gathered that somebody was forced to pay for the damage on the Grand Cherokee. Who was that?
I had to pay $255.19. She was supposed to pay $220.19.
And you want her to pay not only the $255.19 that you paid for the truck, but also for your injuries
Yes.
that you sustained as a result of what you claim was the assault. Okay, did you finish your story?
I have all the medical reports, if
Okay.
you would like those.
No, I don't need them yet, but I may, so keep them handy. All right, Ms. Collazo, let's hear your version of the events.
Okay, everything's true up until the part to where we came over to talk to her. Also, she had talked to me earlier. She said she had no conversation with me at the bar at the bowling alley because earlier that day I had asked her and Mike, were they a couple, in conversation at the bar before we went to the bowling alley. And at the bowling alley, we did talk. I mean, you can't really bowl.
I don't care
Okay,
whether you
I'm just letting you know that we
Good.
did speak. At the bar, yes, I was talking to Kristen. We were talking about the fact that Mike had told her that her girlfriend was there. And I said, what are you talking about? He doesn't have a girlfriend. She said, well, that's her right there. And I said, no, that's not her girl. It's not his girlfriend. I said, they're making a fool of you, you know? And she's just like, I don't understand all that crying stuff. I was like, well, if you want to, I said, we can go over there and ask her right now, and you can stop sitting here being the, you know, the red thumb here and go on with your business. So we go over to the side of her, and I tapped her. She was turned around. Mike was in between us, and I tapped her on her shoulder, and I asked her the question, and she said no. And she looked at me with this face, and she's just like, well, why do you care? Why do you care? And she started getting loud in the bar. Mike was standing in between us, and he did not ask me to leave. He said, Marlena, I know you're better than this. And I said, I know I am. And I turned around, and I proceeded to leave the bar. I turned around, and she was right there, coming at me, asking me, who do I think I am, and why do I care, and why is this important to me? And she grabbed at me. So what was I supposed to do? Of course I grabbed her and started, yeah, I beat her up, but I mean, she had me, you know? And we hit the car, we hit the ground, we rolled around for a little while, and she got someone's cell phone because she was on the phone outside making phone calls, calling me a this, a that, I'm going to jail just because I'm a stupid N-word and this, that, the next, and the other. And I'm like, whatever, I'll wait here for the police. The police came. He said, are you the person who called the police?
Can I see
said,
the police report, please?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Wishner says she was assaulted by Marlena Collazo during an argument at a bar. Stephanie claims Marlena rammed her head into the side of a truck.
So you left before the police arrived, is that right?
No, I left after the police got there. He pulled up right in front of the bar. I was still out front. He looked at me and he said, are you the one who called the police? I said, no. I said, I'm just trying to get my things and leave. He said, okay. And he went inside to talk to her.
Well, according to the police, you left before his arrival. Why didn't you hang around and speak to the police officer?
I was right there when he pulled up, and he asked me, he said, are you the one who called the police?
No, I'm not the one that called the police, but I know about this incident. You knew why the police were there, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you stay around and give your version of the events?
I didn't feel it was necessary.
No? Take any prescription medication?
Do I take prescription medication?
Do you take any prescription medication?
No.
There's no excuse for this. There's no excuse for this kind of an assault. This wasn't a single assault. This was clear. She beat you up. Okay? And she has to be responsible for that. But you also, it seems to me, have some responsibility. There's no question that two of you had been drinking that evening because you started out at the bar, then you went to the bowling alley where I'm sure you were drinking beer or whatever else they serve there. Then you go back to the bar and you're drinking some more. So I'm sure that both of you were feeling a little bit loose. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, we were drinking.
Okay. That doesn't give you this. You understand that?
Yeah.
And you got involved with something that had absolutely nothing to do with you. You're talking to Christina. Christina wants to know if this boy is actually dating this girl. What does that have to do with you? And what do you have to start trouble for? You tell this girl that they're making a fool out of her? I mean, is that what a mature person does?
Well, they were.
What does that have to do with you? So, you had to pay for the truck? That's part of the cost of being stupid and going out and following her outside. As far as your medical bills are concerned, now I want to see your medical bills and the reports.
This is the hospital report. This is the medical.
You didn't see the doctor, I assume, Ms. Collazo, because you went home before you even
There's
spoke to the police.
bills.
Is that right?
That's it?
Yes.
I went home and I went to bed.
Went home and went to bed. Did you go to work the next day?
Yes, I did.
So I assume you weren't injured.
not to the point where I felt I needed medical attention.
Well, tell me how you were injured at any point.
Okay, I had scratches all over my neck.
Did you have any photographs of that?
Did I know I was going to court? No.
Did you? If you had hung around Miss Collazo and spoken to the police, maybe you would have known. Nothing more unseemly than women who drink. Medical bills total $1,160.
Can I speak right now? Mm-hmm. We had a criminal case. She already tried to get me for harassment, but the judge in Pittsburgh dropped the charges.
Well, I'm not dropping the charges. As far as I'm concerned, madam, you owe her $1,160. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm tired of seeing her in court. This is my third time, and hopefully I don't have to see her ever again.
I really think she was out looking to just start something. And I was the lucky person.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Passariello versus Stillwell. Step forward, please.
Kalia and Vito Passariello are suing DJ company owners Jennifer and Eric Stillwell for ruining their wedding video. The Stillwells say the video was free.
Mr. and Mrs. Passariello, you were getting married, and you hired the defendants as DJs for the wedding. Is that right?
Correct.
And how many hours was the reception?
We had hired them to play for 3 hours,
What did your contract provide for?
$210.
Not a lot of money for 3 hours, right?
Average where we live,
Okay. How did you find them? Did you find them through an advertisement, or did somebody recommend them?
in the phone book, an advertisement in the phone book.
Okay. Had you asked for any recommendations?
We only had 2 months to plan our wedding, and in their
Did they-
advertisement, it says that they do a videotaping for free, and since we were in a hurry, we decided to go with them because we also wanted the videotape, so we chose
Let
them.
me see the ad, please.
We actually have two.
Just a second. So $210 was for the DJ. How many people? One DJ or two?
They told me that there would be one DJ, but there would be someone there helping him.
And was there?
There were 2 other people there with him.
Okay. So that's a pretty reasonable.
Right. Very good.
So you're not complaining. Your lawsuit doesn't complain about the DJ services. Your lawsuit says that they were to provide you your event videotaped free.
Correct.
That's what the ad says.
Right.
But not the DJ services. The DJ services you paid for.
Right.
The video was free. And what you're complaining about is the quality of the videotape,
Right.
right?
And
there was
some of the service.
Well, you never like everything that a DJ does, Ms. Passariello.
They lost our first dance song, and they also asked me to make up a song list, and the song list was not played. And we had picked out special music for the cake cutting, and it was not played either.
Ms.
And-
Passariello, listen to me very carefully. I have made a lot of weddings. Never is perfect. Did you fire them?
Well, I couldn't send them home and have no entertainment.
Of course not. So you kept them for the 3 hours.
Right.
Fine. So you got your service provided for, because what you're suing them for is not $210. You're suing them for $2,110. You're suing them for 10 times as much as you paid, because you say they spoiled your day because of the video.
It wasn't just that the day was spoiled. My husband is from New York, and his family was not able to attend, and we were counting on this video to include them so they could see, and it's so embarrassing. We cannot.
Then you should have
send it.
hired somebody who was a professional videoer.
Their ad shows professional this, professional that, and they actually have it in a higher printing that your video service,
Is free.
yes, but they're standing
Mr.
it out.
Passariello, it's ludicrous to believe that you actually thought that you were going to get both a professional DJ and a helper for 3 hours, plus a professional video, all for the bargain price of $210.
That's average where we live. It's not low. It's very average.
So what you're telling me is you can get a professional DJ and a professional video.
I don't know about a professional video.
You're
because
not
they
following
have-
what I'm saying, madam. It's ludicrous to believe that you could possibly expect a professional DJ plus a professional video.
They agreed
For
to
two-
provide a video.
They provided you a video, madam. You
Can
may
I
not
s-
like the video.
Can I show you the
No,
video?
I'm not interested.
It's awful.
Just a second. You should have hired a professional photographer if you wanted a professional video. How is somebody going to do a DJ, pay attention, professionally, as well as videotape an event to your liking, right? You want 2 professionals for $210.
They had 3 people at the event, 1 person to DJ and the other 2. One of the men was standing there with the camera. Now, we're not saying a professional job. We're saying at least an average job. This is
Out of the
below
3 hours,
Where do you get standards?
out of 3
Just a minute,
hours
where
that
do you
we
get
hired
standards for a free service that it's supposed to be average,
them,
below
I'm sure
average,
it's
above
probably
average?
rounded into the price somewhere.
Did you
I mean,
call
it
for
can't be
Hey,
free.
Miss Paciarello, I hear a lot of people complaining about wedding events afterwards. Sometimes I rule in their favor. When they hire a photographer and the photographer's pictures are so outrageous, and you've hired a professional photographer, they are successful. But you did not hire a professional photographer. You hired a professional DJ who was giving
agreed
you
to
as a
provide it.
service, as a free service, a video. I'm going to ask you only one other question. Did you contact, in the course of the 2 months preparation for your wedding, a photographer?
No, his father took all the pictures for our wedding.
So the answer is you did not contact a photographer.
We didn't need to. No.
Good.
Oh,
So I hope, you,
we
have, I hope you
saw-
have good pictures. Listen, stop making a mountain out of a
No,
molehill.
can you view the tape, please?
I'm not interested in the tape, madam. There are pictures on the tape. Is that right?
It's a video.
You can't see it. It's so dark you can't see it. And when we're cutting the cake, the speaker for this system, they set their service up right in front of our cake table, and you cannot even see Vito except for the waist down.
You hired a DJ.
But they
You got a
agreed to
free-
provide another service.
They provided another service.
No,
they
they
gave
didn't.
you a video. And the fact that, Miss Paciarello, you're not going to get a dime. Understand that. You hired a DJ for $200 for 3 hours. Did you play 3 hours or more?
We played 4.
Like 4.
Because they felt bad because they
No.
broke our first dance tape.
Fine. Well, that's just a second. That's a very nice thing. So they played
I
for
told him
4
to leave.
hours. They played for 4 hours. For
But I
2
told
hours.
him to leave.
No.
Yes, we did. He asked us several times if we wanted him to stay for a half an hour for 35 or a full hour for 70, and I told him no, because there was only like
Just a
30
second.
people left.
Just a second. So are you telling me they didn't stay for 4 hours?
They did, but I didn't tell him to.
I
told
ask
him he could
Miss
leave.
Paciarello, get this straight. They played at your wedding for 4 hours for $200. And for that, you also believe you are entitled to a video that is totally satisfactory to you. You are not entitled to that. Did you ever hear the expression, you get what you pay for?
Did you ever hear the
No,
expression?
don't ask me any
"Nothing's
questions.
free"?
That's right. Nothing is free and you get what you pay for. Case closed. Case is dismissed. That's
Parties
all.
are excused. You may
Southern for 2 months' rent, a security deposit, and sexual harassment.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 170 on the calendar in the matter of Shariat versus Southern. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Shariat, according to the complaint that I've read, you rented an apartment from the defendant. The apartment was on his property, adjacent to a shop that he had, some sort of shop where he did work. You moved into the apartment in September of 2000, is that
Yes.
right? And it is your claim that you lived there from September, October, November, December, and moved out sometime in January, is that right?
No, I had a 6-month lease, which would have ended the end of
I
February.
asked when you moved out.
Okay, I stayed 2 more months after this. It was I moved out. April. I was forced to move out.
Just
April
tell
6th.
me when you moved out.
April 6th.
So you stayed beyond your lease.
Yes.
And you want many things. You want him to pay you for 2 months' rent. You want him to reimburse you for your security deposit. You are charging him with sexual harassment. And you are charging him with an excessive electricity bill because you say that your apartment was also hooked up to his shop. So you got an excessive electricity bill.
Yes.
That's what you want.
Yes.
Ah, okay. What problems do you claim that the defendant caused you that would inspire me to return rent to you?
Okay. I ended up in the hospital 4 different times.
When? When was the first time?
11/28 is the first hospital report I had.
November 28th.
Yeah.
And what were you hospitalized for?
Well, I went in there for chemical poisoning, which they couldn't test for because there's 150 chemicals out there. But it ended up I had a carbon monoxide level of 10.1.
Okay, that's in November.
10.5,
Ms.
yeah.
Shariat, listen to me. That's in November.
Yeah,
Then you went back to the apartment.
yeah.
When were you hospitalized again?
Okay, the next one was January 5th.
And why did you go to the hospital January 5th?
That time I was vomiting profusely within 1 hour. And again, they detected even a higher carbon monoxide level. That came to 12.1%.
Okay, and then you went back to your apartment.
No, they said don't go back. It's health hazardous. I
So-
checked into a crisis shelter.
But you told me you stayed in the apartment until April 6th.
Well, I was going to tell you I couldn't for 6 days. I was at a crisis shelter. I was too ill.
But then
I
you
did
went
go
back
back.
to the apartment.
I did go back after that.
Okay, and you stayed then in January, and in February, and in March. Is that right?
Yes, and I also...
When was your next hospitalization?
Okay, it was in April, the beginning of April.
Now that amounts to 3.
Yes.
You said you were hospitalized 4 times while you were living there.
No, I have 3 reports. I did make a mistake. I did go to an allergist. I may have counted that, feeling ill, but it was not the hospital.
Okay.
I have
now
an allergist report.
Now what rent do you want him to give you back?
I feel after the end of November that it was a very miserable situation.
Then you should have moved.
I had nowhere to move, and I had a 6-month
That's not his
lease.
problem. That's not his problem. You don't live out the terms of your lease. I mean, unless there's something wrong
Well,
with you.
it's better than going back into a slum apartment where I came from.
Then that's the choice you made, right?
Yeah.
You stayed there November when you felt sick. You stayed there December, you felt
Yeah.
sick. You stayed December, January,
Yeah.
February, March. Then you move out in April, and
Yeah.
then you sue him for rent. Forget rent. Forget it. All right, let's get to the security deposit. Did he keep your security deposit?
Oh, yeah.
How much was your security deposit?
$400. And I
Did
also...
she give what?
Excuse me. I also paid $400 in April and had to leave on the 6th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did she give you $400 for April?
Yes, ma'am. She did not have all of her stuff out by the end of April. She
Just a minute.
Also,
When did you move out all of your stuff?
I had to stay with my friend.
I don't care what. I don't care
And
where
I
to
came
stay.
back on the 13th, and I tried to start moving it. I was unable to because of the
If your
fumes.
stuff is there, you're there.
Okay, it was completely moved out April 16th.
Why did you keep her security deposit?
I have pictures here where she busted down one of the beds that was left in there for him to use, unrepairable. And also, I have pictures of the apartment, what the apartment was here, but also a spot on the carpet in the front room coming in that will not come up, and the shower stall, which was left so dirty in the bottom that the stains will not come out of the
Your
bottom.
Show me
Honor?
the bills to have all of that stuff fixed.
Your Honor?
Shh.
Oh,
Show me
sorry.
the bills to have all of that stuff fixed. Either you paid to have it fixed, or you have estimates
I
about
did
how.
not have the bills on it. The bed was unrepairable, so I got rid of it.
Forget it. She gets her security back. Unless you have bills to show me what it costs to clean the carpet, repair the carpet, clean up the shower, anything else, she gets her security deposit back. Do you understand that? How
Yes.
much was her security deposit? $400?
Yes.
Good. Perfect. So it's $400 on her side, but no rent. You stayed, that's your problem. Now, let's get to the electricity bill.
Okay. It comes to $1,032 right here. And I have an inspector's report showing that he was
For how many
using-
months is the $1,032?
For the entire time I was able to live there. That would be until April 6th.
So September, October, November, December, January, February, March, part of April. So you're talking about almost 8 months. Is that right?
Yes. But the thing is, I had virtually no heat while I was living there.
Just a minute. $129 a month. Now, is there electric heat?
Yes. In one room.
Is the electricity from her apartment tied into any other area in your home or business?
Yes.
Which place? The shop?
The shop, it wasn't used. It's used to run an air compressor once in a while.
She's not going to pay for that.
Okay, and some fluorescent lights in there once in a while. It was hardly there.
Well, how were you supposed to divide this electricity bill. She shouldn't
Okay.
be responsible for all
She
of the
did not
electricity.
pay any of the water bill. I took care of the water bill, and when she moved in, she was supposed to pay all the electricity bill.
But she was supposed to pay all the electricity bill for her apartment, not for your shop. Did your lease
It's all
require?
connected in one meter, and that was in the agreement when she moved in.
Show me, because I would think that you have to be crazy to say, I'll pay for my apartment and your shop too, even if you only use the shop occasionally. That's ridiculous.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Julia Shariat says former landlord Bernard Southard tried to poison her with pesticide. Julia is also accusing Bernard of propositioning her for sex.
Do you have a written lease with her?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it? Okay. Did you pay for any water usage when you were there?
No.
Because this says that you shall be responsible for the utilities, including water. Now, Mr. Southard says that you didn't pay for the water, but he has to show me the water bills. You have water bills?
No, ma'am, I did not bring the water bill.
How large is this apartment? Put your hand down. I don't need you.
Okay, it
How
was
large
about
is this apartment?
probably 15 to 1,700 square feet. Had virtually no heated, only heated one room. He was in the shop and warehouse 10 to 12 hours a day most of the time. I
me
need
see
to
the
say
bill.
also something about the shower. It was
I didn't
loaded.
ask you about a shower. Let me see the bill, the electricity bill.
Okay.
Springfield, Illinois. It gets very cold in the wintertime, doesn't it there?
I was living in about 50.
I'm asking you if it gets cold there.
Yes. Very cold. Yes.
And you were there September, October, November, December, January, and February. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. This says the entire amount due was $834.
I applied for low energy assistant. They paid for over 200 and some, so that's deducted.
The bill here is $834. Is that right? You told me $1032.
But then low energy assistant paid for 200 some.
So you didn't pay for it.
Not for the 1,000, but the 834 is still standing.
Why?
Well, the reason I brought this was because, see, I felt he was using my assistance program for his benefit, ma'am.
You don't get credit for that. Why did you tell me it was $1,032?
It was until they stepped in and helped. But I felt he was using my assistance program to his benefit since he used this shop
So what
10
should
to
I do with
12
that?
hours.
Give you the credit for it?
I just don't like users. I felt you should know that I did apply for the energy assistance, and at first it was 1,000. That was hard to apply for. It's demeaning, and I didn't like to do that.
Your Honor,
So your bill was really $100 a month for electricity that includes heat. Is that right, in your apartment?
I did have heat in one room, yes.
Whether you had heat in one room or a half room, you had heat in the apartment in Illinois in December.
Your Honor,
What?
the heaters was in the other rooms. They was 220. She had her little
Listen to me. You
110
caused
heater.
the problem, sir.
Pardon?
You caused the problem. The problem is if you rent an apartment, you should have separate meters for every part of the premises that you're renting. Now, you didn't have a separate meter, so now I'm going to have to make a calculated guess as to what portion of this electric bill I'm attributing to you, because it's unjust for her to have to pay for anything in your shop. So her entire bill was $800 for 8 months. I'm attributing $25 a month to you, sir. $75 a month to the plaintiff. Electric heat is very expensive. That includes lights and everything else. $75 a month doesn't seem like an awful lot for electric. Does it seem like a lot for electric with electric heat? Not to me. Once lived in an apartment that had electric heat. I got my first bill, $600. It was a 3-room apartment. Okay, so we are up to $600. $400 for the security deposit and $200 that I'm giving you credit for towards your electric bill. That's his responsibility. Now let's get to the sexual harassment, which is the other part of your claim.
After 2.5 months of living there, he resented the fact that I was going back with an old boyfriend. He got on a revenge trip and he started just barging into my apartment. He walked upstairs into my bathroom one morning and then actually took a step into my bedroom. That's when he went too far. I called Sergeant, and here's a report. She felt like it was so threatening.
Don't tell me
to
what she felt. I'm not interested in hearing what you think she felt.
Okay.
Listen to me. You filed this report December 30th. You stayed on January, February, March with a man that you say is threatening you. He threatened her.
By his presence, by his barging in, yes.
That's not what it says here. It just says, and he has threatened her, is what you told the police.
I felt like if I didn't be overly nice or friendly, I mean, then he would pull tactics as poisoning. That's threatening.
Move.
I didn't want to go into government housing.
Then you must not have felt that threatened.
Yeah, but I would have had to give my dog up. When you weigh it out, which is better?
Well, if someone is threatening me, trying to poison me, feel as if he is going to stalk you by coming into your home unannounced and do other dastardly deeds to you, I would prefer to live in a cardboard box under a bridge. I'm giving you $600, madam. That is $400 for your security deposit, which you are entitled to. I don't believe that he sexually harassed you in any way.
He offered
I am giving
me $50 for a job.
What?
He offered me $50 for a job.
Did you turn him down?
You betcha.
Good. And $200 for the credit on your electricity. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Her own brother was there from California, said she was mentally ill.
My brother even stepped in and said, leave her alone.
She'd lie all the time, she always did.
He started yelling, get off my property, and I had a lease there. And, you know, I mean, it was just insane.
You know, it's clear that she's obviously had some psychiatric care throughout her life.
I believe firmly, look into the background of a landlord.
And now the next case.
All parties on Arredondo versus Bradley. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Genevieve Arredondo is suing her former friend, 22-year-old telemarketer Tylen Bradley, for the cost of a tuxedo rental and a traffic ticket.
Miss Arredondo, you know the defendant since high school, according to your papers, for a long time. You were friends, maybe a little bit more. You claim a series of small loans to the defendant over a short period of time, several months ago. One for some tickets and then one for a tuxedo rental. The whole big case is about $150.
Yes, ma'am.
So the two of you must not have anything special to do with your time other than come to court over $150, but I'm prepared to hear you. When was the first loan?
July 21st of 2000.
For what?
The tuxedo rental for $68.78.
What was that for?
Mr. Bradley was participating in a wedding, and he was unemployed at the moment, and I told him I would let him borrow the money so he could buy the tuxedo.
You didn't buy a
Oh,
tuxedo?
rent the tuxedo, I'm sorry.
Put on your credit card?
Yeah, I did. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
you wore the tuxedo?
Yes, I wore a tuxedo.
Did you ask her for the money for the tuxedo?
Well, actually, what had happened was we was discussing it, and I had told her what had happened to why I wasn't able to get it, and she told me, well, if
Why
you need
weren't
help.
you able to get it?
Well, because at the time I wasn't employed regularly, and also I had some money stolen from me that I had saved to get it, and so she said, well, she'll be able to help me. Well, she didn't actually know at the time if she would be able to, but if she could, she would. Then she came back to me and said that she would be able to, and so I accepted because I was going to be best man, so I needed a tuxedo.
Did you say you'd pay her back?
No, at that time there was no discussion of me paying her back.
Why not?
Because, as my understanding, she was doing it out the kindness of her heart.
No.
Did you say to her, that's really very nice of you. When I have the money, I'll pay you back?
No, there was no, like I said, there was no discussion over any repayment.
When did he say he would pay you back? Look at me.
He didn't say a specific date.
He didn't say, I'll pay you back. Did you expect to go to this wedding with him?
No.
Didn't think he was going to ask you to take you to the wedding?
I thought he would have asked, but he never did.
Right. You thought he would have asked. Paid for the tuxedo, maybe he'd ask you to go to the wedding, then you'd go together. What's the next one? Come on, let me hear.
A month later, he had an outstanding ticket, and he told me he didn't have the money again to pay it, and he said if he didn't pay it, he was going to get a warrant for his arrest. So my stepbrother gave me $80. I put it into my account, or $88. I put it into my account and made a check to Metropolitan Court, and I gave it to Mr. Bradley.
And when did he say he would pay you back?
I just said, whenever you get a job, you can pay me back.
Is that what you said to him, whenever you get a job?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, where are you working?
Right now?
Yeah.
MCI, man.
When did you get that job?
In January.
So why don't you pay her back this money for the ticket?
Because it wasn't a loan. I mean, the whole reason why I think that she even wants the money was because of the fact, like, you going back to the wedding, was that I did not invite her.
Okay, forget the wedding.
Okay,
forget the
wedding.
tuxedo.
Okay,
I don't believe that was a loan.
Okay. So
But
I mean,
if you have
back
a
to
warrant issued for your arrest, and you can get out of having the warrant issued for your arrest by getting $88 from her, you take $88 from her, why don't you give her back the money?
Because, again, it wasn't a loan. I mean, She just did it like to help me out.
Why would she want to just help you out?
Because, I mean, we were friends. I mean, maybe, she thought there was a little bit more. Maybe she wanted a little bit more. But we were just friends, and the whole talk about repayment wasn't brought up until I had moved in with the mother of my daughter. Then that's when she started saying, well, I need to be paid back. You need to pay me back. You said you was going to pay me back.
If somebody helps you out because they like you and they don't want you to go to jail, then the honorable thing to do, the nice thing to do, but most of all, the honorable thing to do, the just thing to do, is to pay him back the money. Now, this tuxedo business, as I said to you, I think she thought that she would get to go to the party with you. You didn't invite her. That wasn't really nice. However, it's different when you say, unless you give me the money, I'm going to go to jail.
No, I did not say that to her. She asked me what happens if you don't pay it. Then I told her that.
What did you tell her?
Then I told her that it would turn into a war. Eventually, I would go to jail.
Grow up. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $88. Get a life, sir. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Everything was done out of the kindness of her heart.
He's just been blowing me off.
You know, she was right. Maybe I should.
Pat is countersuing for her wedding expenses.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 188 on the calendar in the matter of Murray versus Rose. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats, please.
You are Mr.
Murray.
So you are the father of the...
Bride.
And Miss Rose, you're the mother of the groom.
Yes, ma'am.
Who are you?
Groom.
Where's the bride?
She couldn't be here. She was too upset over these matters, Your Honor.
I believe it. Okay. Bert, I want you to listen to this very carefully. You haven't married any of your children yet, right?
Not yet.
According to the complaint and the counterclaim, the two families were planning a wonderful wedding for their children, and now the wedding, which has taken place, is over. And each of the parents are suing and countersuing the others for monies that they say are owed to them as a result of the expenses for the wedding. We're not talking about a lot of money here. Mr. Murray, you claim that Mrs. Rose owes you $573.79. And Mrs. Rose, you say that Mr. Murray owes you $2,999.45. First, let me hear what the claims are before I rush to judgment. Okay, sir. When was the wedding planned?
The wedding was planned for March 31st.
And you like the bridegroom?
Yes.
Nice guy?
Yes.
You think your daughter likes him?
I hope so.
She's known him for a while?
Yes, I think they've known each other 3-4 years, something like that.
And looking forward to a wonderful life together.
Hopefully.
So tell me how much you say you're owed by Miss Rose, and for what?
All right, I think the total is $573.79. She wanted to have the reception at her club, which is
Who wanted to have the
bar.
reception at the club?
Pat, Mrs. Rose wanted to have the reception at her club or bar, or I think the sign on the front says honky tonk.
It's not a honky tonk. Excuse me, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Matter of fact, I have pictures of
Just
showing that.
talk to me, sir.
But anyway, we met there 2 weeks before the wedding to go over things that need to be done and this and that and the other. And she'd asked, in fact, about a week or so before that, if we could clean the carpet. We own and operate a carpet cleaning business. So we agreed that we'd come in and clean the carpet, and the deal was...
You mean before the wedding?
Before the wedding. And the deal was on the carpet was that we would clean the carpet for whatever it cost for materials.
Go ahead.
We went in and cleaned the carpet. In fact, my wife and my stepson had went and cleaned the carpet. They were in there for like 6 hours. We used somewhere around 60 gallons or 62.5 gallons of cleaner in this restaurant. It was extremely, extremely bad. I mean, for the square foot of a bar.
It was a dirty carpet, then you cleaned it. That's your business.
Right.
Okay.
So anyway, Thursday night we stopped by the club. They were in there starting to set up. They were blowing up balloons, I believe. She said she didn't have a way to go to the store to pick up some of the food items that she wanted to prepare for the reception. And we said, well, we can go do that. My wife left, went to the grocery store, picked up the food items, brought them back. We said we would settle up after the wedding. The wedding took place on Saturday. Monday, we went back in to pick up some of our things. In fact, we'd sent her a bill later on that week after we'd got everything together. She called and said that she didn't think she owed that kind of money. We sent her receipts. We heard nothing.
Okay, so your receipts are for what, sir?
The receipts are for the items that were bought at the grocery store.
And how much was that?
$53.24.
$53.24 of the items you bought at the grocery store. And what else?
We'd taken some ribbons and things by for table decorations. I mean, it's just simple things like 94 cents on ribbons and stuff like that.
So, yeah, go ahead, 94 cents. What else?
Right. It was some things in there from Food Line.
All total,
Meat.
sir, for the items that you picked up for her, that you have receipts for, how much do you have receipts for?
Oh, Lord. Be $123.79, I believe, Your Honor.
$123.79. All right. And what's the other money for?
The other money, the $450, was for materials used in carpet cleaning.
Okay. That's what your claim is, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let me hear from you. What's your claim about?
Would you like these receipts?
No.
Well, first of all, Your Honor, when I talked to his wife, Mrs. Murray, about cleaning my carpets, I told her it was for the wedding because I wanted the carpets to be clean for the reception. First, she said, no charge. I said, no, I will not let you do it free of charge. She says, well, why don't we get the boys to clean the carpets and I'll charge you for the chemicals? And I said, that's fine. How much do you think that'll be? She said $25 or $30. I agreed to that. The boys came in, they cleaned the carpets. And then the Thursday, as he was talking about her going to the grocery store.
I don't want to hear about the grocery store.
Okay, they came over to...
Shh. I don't want to hear about the grocery store. I want to hear about your counterclaim.
Oh, my counterclaim. Okay.
Right, that's what I want to hear about.
Okay, my counterclaim is $2,999.45. These are charges incurred because of the wedding, the rental of the dance area, which is half of what I would normally have charged.
Why did you charge him anything?
Well,
why'd you charge him anything?
It's a business.
What?
I coughed up $400
for
what? For the rental of the business.
No.
I closed my business down, Your Honor, for 10 hours.
Just a second. How long was the reception?
The reception started at 4.
And was over at what time?
4:30, 5 o'clock, and it went on to 12.
Were there other people in the bar?
Not customers, no. Everybody was in there, was invited to the wedding.
Fine. How many children do you have?
One, thank God.
Good. So you have one child, and you happen to have a place where they could have the wedding. So what's the big deal if you close your place for a night?
No big deal.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephen Murray says mother of the groom, Pat Rose, owes for money spent on his stepdaughter's wedding. Pat says it's Stephen who owes.
What's next?
Preparation and setup.
What does that mean?
That was doing the decorations, all the things that had to be done, setting up for the food area, for the cake, the decorations for the club.
What else?
Clean up.
What else?
Rental of linens.
They
did not want to use my white ones. They wanted the champagne ones.
Fine. How much was that?
$65.
Good. Go.
I have invoices.
No. I want you to keep talking to me.
Okay. The food.
How much was the food?
My cost on the food was $601. I called a caterer to find out how much.
How many people were at the wedding?
187 people RSVP'd.
No. How many people came to the wedding?
I didn't do a head count, Your Honor.
But a lot of people.
Yes, it was full.
Okay, and the total cost of the food was approximately $601?
Right.
Okay, what else?
Champagne.
How much was that? Your cost?
$210. She agreed to pay for this.
Okay, what's next?
The bands and the DJs.
Are these regular employees of yours?
No, you book bands and DJs as you need them.
No, I'm asking you. Were these regular employees of yours? Did you pay them by the week? Did you pay them by...
No, you book them per occasion. I had booked a band in there. Mrs. Murray called me and insisted that I cancel the band. I told her that it would be just as cheap for me to let them go ahead and play because I had to pay a cancellation fee. She said she wanted a DJ and karaoke to cancel my band. I did. I paid the cancellation fee, hired a DJ, and as soon as I...
Now, would you give me some idea of what the cost was for the music?
I paid $290 cancellation fee. Then I had to turn around and pay another band that she insisted that I hire $300. The DJ and karaoke was $250.
Okay, what else?
And then there was additional wait staff, loss of linens due to the fountain, and the carpet. I have invoices for all this, Your Honor.
I'm being very arbitrary here. There are certain costs that I'm considering in my head and certain costs that I'm not. Now, Mr. Murray, How many children do you have, sir?
I have 2, and I have 2 stepchildren.
I want to know how many children you have.
2, 1 daughter, 1 son.
And how much did you pay out of pocket for her wedding?
That was my stepdaughter that got married, Your Honor.
Oh, it was your stepdaughter that
Yes.
got married. Well, that's your daughter. Step up.
Your Honor.
Just a minute. Your name is Miss Murray?
My name's Darlene Murray.
You have 1 daughter?
I have 2 children, 1 daughter, 1 son.
Are you employed?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you employed?
Yes, I am.
What I want to know is how much the parents of the bride actually expended for this wedding and what you spent it for.
Your Honor, first of all, may I please say...
Say nothing except answering my question. How much money did you spend to feed the guests at the wedding?
My agreement...
That's not what I asked you. How much did you spend to feed the guests at the wedding?
I would say that I spent over $200.
For what?
The rehearsal dinner, unbeknownst to me, was at my home. That was not pre-planned.
Who planned a rehearsal dinner at your home without your knowledge?
There was not to be, Your Honor, a rehearsal dinner because the rehearsal was going to be at 7 o'clock in the evening, the night prior to the wedding.
Right.
My son just got married last May, and it was...
How did you get to have a rehearsal dinner at your house without your knowledge?
Because we were doing dinner for the guests that were coming in from out of town that would be staying.
Your guests?
Correct.
Just a second. Just a second. Your guests?
Correct.
From out of town?
Correct.
Were any of the groom's guests from out of town at this rehearsal dinner?
They were not to be, but at the last minute, because of not planning correctly, Miss Rose informed me that they would then come to our house after the rehearsal. So I ended up with their family and our out-of-town guests at our home for a rehearsal dinner that we prepared all the food and liquor at.
Okay. No, don't answer. Don't answer me. Don't answer me. Don't answer me. How many people did you have at your home for dinner?
I would say 50 people there.
50 people. And of the 50 people, how many people were from the groom's side?
I would say roughly.
Not roughly.
Some people I didn't know. I mean, they were friends and out of town. I would say probably somewhere around 20 to 25. It was probably about equal amounts.
Okay.
She's... Okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
What else did you spend money on?
For the wedding?
Yeah.
Other than dress and personal items?
Yeah.
Nothing, because it was not my wedding. This is my daughter's 3rd wedding, Your Honor. I paid for the first one.
And Stacy and Wayne agreed to pay for this wedding.
My daughter is 35 years of age. This was their wedding. I do not believe that it was my obligation as mother of the bride to pay for a wedding that they did
Then let me ask you this question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? And I don't necessarily disagree with you, because that's information that was not contained in your complaint, that this was a 3rd marriage for your daughter.
Your Honor.
Shh.
Excuse me. Okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Just a minute.
Okay.
And that you paid for the first one, maybe paid for the second one, and you weren't going to pay for a 3rd one. You said, wish you good luck, but I'm not paying for the wedding. That's not unreasonable, so...
That's basically how it works.
Right. Just a minute. That doesn't mean you're going to get your money for carpet cleaning. Let me explain that to you. That's outrageous. It's outrageous because I've had my carpet cleaned a couple of times in my life, and it doesn't cost $450 for materials for carpet cleaning. You know it, and I know it. Mr. Murray, you know what a jug, a whole vat of cleaning material costs, and it doesn't cost $450 for carpet cleaning. And even if it did, which it doesn't, it seems to me, while you had no out-of-pocket expenses for the wedding, it was a nice gesture if you said, if you're donating your hall, which, by the way, you're going to do.
Okay.
I'm giving you that right now.
That's fine.
If you're donating the hall, at least I want to do something to make it pretty, so I'll come in and clean the carpets. So I've just taken care of your claim. You have no claim. You cleaned the carpets and you picked up $100 worth of food. Big deal. According to you, you had a lot of out-of-town family. I don't know if it's your family, your daughter's family. So even if you made a rehearsal dinner, you decided to do that, and you made it at your house for your out-of-town guests, you knew that they were going to be fed at her establishment because she paid for the food.
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, I believe she paid for the food for the wedding.
Your Honor, may I please say something?
You're telling me everybody brought something?
Yes, ma'am. And I have the list as to how it was
A friend
done.
of ours that came from North Carolina that does wedding cakes, she made the cake and she brought the cake
How
down.
many people were at this wedding?
About 120 people.
Yeah.
120 people. So somebody else made a wedding cake. Big deal. And
No,
if you're telling me this was a potluck wedding where everybody brought a dish to feed 120 people, I'm telling you I don't buy it.
Well,
Forget it. You have no claim.
Wasn't enough food
Listen to
feed
me.
120
You
people.
have no claim. What I don't understand is why you two people have chosen to interfere with the happiness of your children over what I consider pittance of money. Everybody has problems when they plan a wedding. Everybody has problems when paying for a wedding. The bride's parents are supposed to do this, the groom's parents are supposed to do that. In the case of second or third marriages, perhaps that's different. But it seems to me you have one child, and you want that child to be happy. Both of you have placed a strain on a brand new marriage by fighting with each other. This will never go away. This will never make your children feel better. Put your hand down. I am certain that they have had many hours of discussions, unpleasant discussions. Is that a fair statement? You and your new wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Over this nonsense. Nonsense. Stand up here with your mom. Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
Professional painter.
Have you been doing that for a long time?
Right about 8 months now.
Is this your first marriage?
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew it was your wife's third marriage?
Yes, ma'am.
Does she have children from her first two marriages?
Yes, ma'am. 2 girls.
How old are they?
19 and 16.
Are you currently living with your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Other than this strain that you have any other stress or strain?
Regular life, but this is really a real bad strain.
This is what I'm going to suggest that you do. If your mother wants the money for the rental of the hall, for the band, and for any other incidentals that she may have incurred for this wedding, I suggest you and your wife pay for it.
But Your Honor.
Do you understand? I suggest you and your wife pay for it.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
Mrs. Murray is the one who demanded all these demands. She's the one that ramrodded the whole affair. She's the one that made all the decisions, not the bride and groom, not myself. She's the one that demanded that I cancel the band. Then she's the one that demanded I hire a DJ. She's the one that demanded that I rehire another band. She's the one who agreed to pay for the champagne. She's the one who agreed to do all this stuff.
I helped clean
She's
the carpet.
the one, she was so petty
Just a
about
second.
everything, Your
Just
Honor.
a second. Listen to me. I wasn't there. And I believe, just listen to me. You don't have a written agreement with her, do you?
Verbal agreement.
I said you don't have a written agreement
No,
with her,
ma'am,
do
I have
you?
a verbal agreement.
Okay. I believe them when they say that they were not prepared to make a third wedding. I believe them because that's very reasonable. And they were going to use your club, and there weren't going to be a lot of expenses. You have 2 adult children, one of whom has 2 children who are adults themselves. So if you feel as if you have to be reimbursed for the rental of your place and table linens, I suggest you speak to your son and make arrangements to do that. Your case is dismissed as well as your counterclaim. That's all. Loaned her the money to make her mortgage payment for about a year.
Yes, ma'am. It was about 10 months probably. Yes, ma'am.
And you loaned her that money with the understanding that if she did not pay you back, the title to the mobile home would be put in your name.
Yes, ma'am. Either or, some kind of assurance that I'd get something out of it.
And Ms. Padilla says that there was never an agreement that you paid her mortgage, but that was like rent because you were, in fact, living there. Now, explain to me how it came about that your sister and your mother were together in this mobile home.
Well, I moved to Mexico, and after I moved there, my sister had my mother move in with her. I was down there about 5.5 to 6 months. I came back in, like, July.
Where did you stay when you came back to work in July of 2004?
For the first probably month and a half, I stayed at her trailer.
So from, let's say, July and August.
In August, I was in California, in San Francisco.
When in August?
The 1st of August, I got a job traveling, working in refineries.
So you spent 1 month with your sister and your mother?
Probably about that.
Is that about right?
I wasn't there during that timeout.
Who was there?
She was there, ma'am.
All right, so you say she was there. So you lived there for a month in July. When did you have this conversation with her about the mortgage?
I'd say it was in June, the end of June.
So before you moved in?
Yeah, I was still in Mexico before we had this conversation.
So in Mexico, she called you and said what?
That she's a couple of months behind on her payment. They're about to repossess it, and she moved my mom in with her, and I didn't want my mom to be, you know, stuck out because she didn't pay her bills.
So?
So I came back, and I got a job building swimming pools and started paying, you know. And she said that she wasn't working because she was waiting on a workman's comp thing to come through, which after a while,
don't speak to him. At my stage in life, I can only hear one person talk at a time.
Yes,
otherwise, I get confused.
But after a while, you know, waiting on her workman's comp or whatever to start up so she could pay her own bills, you know, it got kind of old. And she was quite a bit behind, about $1,100, I believe.
You were living in the trailer for the month of July.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would assume, at least for the month of July, you were going to pay some rent.
Yes, ma'am, but this month of July, I was paying the month of May's rent. You know, I was paying her back payment.
If you paid her the back payment for the month of May, how much did you pay for rent in July when you were living there?
Well, I never had a set payment, you know. I mean, I guess I would owe for that month of rent, you know, but...
I guess you might.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you were working, right?
But see, none of that... Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
You don't think that she should pay for a time when you were living there and not paying rent?
Yes, ma'am, but I was paying her bills too, evidently, because she was not working. She had no income coming in whatsoever.
How much in total did you pay towards this trailer?
Trailer and utilities.
Trailer.
Trailer, I don't really have an exact on just a trailer, but I would just send money orders, and whatever they put it on, that was that.
That was nice of you. I don't hear anything about a loan.
Yes, ma'am. That's what all this was with a loan.
Well, that's what you're telling me, sir. That's not what they tell me.
Yes, ma'am. But I would not have come back, you know, to pay all her bills. I was living in motels this entire time.
Not in July.
No, I got that job in August.
Not in July.
Or the past 5 months.
Listen to me. Shh. Where have you been living the last 5 months?
A couple of months I was there. But then she got mad because of cell phone, so she told me to get out of her house. She ended up calling the police to have me removed.
Miss Padilla?
Yes, ma'am.
But anyway, my roommate here, he was having to loan me money because I was sending all my checks
I'm
in.
talking about the last 5 months, Mr. Elmore. Where were you living?
I've been living with him for the last month and a half. And a little while I had to live in a shed next door to the house, believe it or not. The night after she called the police, they made me leave and told me I couldn't come back. I stayed in the shed for about 3 weeks.
Mr. Elmore, you and I are not coming together on the same wavelength.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain to me why you have a case of a loan.
Well, because
all of those things.
I paid off her trailer payment. You know what I mean? Her trailer got paid for, and it all came from me, ma'am. Over $4,000 worth, and I was not living there.
Oh, Mr. Elmore.
I didn't have it separated.
Mr. Elmore.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have an argument with your sister?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
What was the argument about, Mr. Elmore?
It started over the cell phone. She asked to borrow my cell phone, I wouldn't let her.
Why?
That just, I don't know.
You didn't feel like letting her?
Yes, ma'am.
So
no, I had no reason, but I just told her no. So
fine.
She told me to get out of her house, and I told her no. You know, I said, I paid all this. So she said it's in her name, and...
So she said it's in her name, get out of my house.
Yeah, exactly. I refused to leave. Well, she called the police.
And what happened when the police got there?
They made me leave. I left.
Is that when you filed this lawsuit?
It was a few days after that, when I was living in that shed. You know, I was watching the TV, and I just happened to see your show, and afterwards I called, you know.
What is your last name?
Elmore.
Miss Elmore, who do you live with now?
I live in the trailer with my daughter.
What about her?
She has moved into the trailer with me and my daughter. She lived there.
So that when I ask you a question, I expect you to give me a full answer. You live in the trailer with your daughter and this lady?
Yes.
Who
yes,
else lives there?
Just the 3 of us now.
Who pays the bills?
All 3 of us. Yes, ma'am.
Now, who was paying the bills, say, last July, August, September, October, November? Was your son paying the bills?
My son paid a lot. He did. I have never denied that, but I was paying too. It wasn't just Mike paying.
And your son contributed, according to him, some $4,000 over a 13-month period. Is that right?
Actually, it was more than that, but I've lost several receipts.
Now, Mr. Elmore,
yes, ma'am.
Would you be here today if it wasn't for this cell phone incident, sir?
Yes, ma'am. It had been going through my mind for a long time, you know, because I wanted my money back.
Well, you're not going to get all your money back, sir. You lived there for
I'm aware of that.
You lived there for 4 months.
Yes, ma'am, I'm aware of that.
Ma'am.
And when, yeah.
He came back in March, and he did not leave again until the end of August, the last week of August.
March, April, May, June, July. So it's 6 months.
Not the last week of August. It was about the middle of
August.
So the date on the last receipt I had was 5/5 of 05.
Just a
so
second.
that's May. That's not March, ma'am.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you saying your mother is a liar? She says you were there March, April, May, June, July, and part of August. So is what you're telling me that your mother is lying to me?
Yes, ma'am. I'm saying I was not there then.
Now, tell me, in March, he came back for how long?
It was about 2 weeks, I believe. And then he left out for the job. He never actually got to work on that job. He got sent back right after that.
And when did he come back?
I probably at the end of March.
So was he living in the trailer in April?
Yes, ma'am.
May?
Yes, ma'am.
June?
Yes, ma'am.
July?
Yes, ma'am.
And part of August?
No, ma'am,
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
not.
And part of August?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the previous July, he was there when he came back from Mexico?
Yes, ma'am.
For 1 month?
Yes.
Miss Judy, she says that I was there before then. Like I said, I got the date on the first receipt that I paid is 7/14 of 04. I was paying a May 15th bill because when she called me, she was 3 months back.
Listen to me, Mr. Elmore.
She got her dates confused, ma'am.
No, Mr. Elmore, listen to me carefully, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Your sister does not deny, nor will she deny to me today, that she called you and said, I've gotten behind in my bills.
I didn't call him, ma'am.
Or contacted him, or whatever, and said, I need some help. She's not denying that you gave her some help because the mortgage was behind. What your family is saying to you is you lived there for a longer period than you've indicated to me today, not just a couple of days, which you say in your complaint, you know, that your employer pays for your motel and that's where you were living, that you were living there for a period of at least, according to both your mother, who I believe, and your sister, July, part of March, April, May, June, July, and part of August. So at least 6.5 months. And for that, living there for all of that time, you contributed $4,200. That's pretty reasonable. You have a roof over your head, you have gas, you have electric, you have food, you have whatever else it takes. And if you helped your family out for another 3.5 months, you don't come in here and bother me about that. What you're annoyed about is that your sister, for whatever reason, after you said she couldn't use your cell phone, told you to leave. So you got annoyed. And then you had nothing to do, so you went and watched me on television and said, aha! I'm going to go and file a small claims court case. Mr. Elmore,
Well,
Mr. Elmore, get a life. Case is dismissed.
These are excused. You may step out.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
I have a counterclaim.
It's dismissed.
Okay.
If he bothered you, annoyed you for a year, and you let him bother you and annoy you for the year, that makes you not too smart.
I moved out of the state to get
Very
away from him.
good. That's exactly what you should do. That I've read for a period of time, and it is your claim that during that time you made a loan to her in the amount of $5,000 as a retainer for an attorney because she was having some legal problems. The defendant says that while she acknowledges that you wired the money into a joint bank account that you had for the attorney, that money was paid back because all that money that was in the joint bank account was put in by both of you subsequently. So the money was repaid.
In my opinion, yes, it was.
When did you start living together, Mr. White?
We started living together in April of 04.
How long had you known each other before you moved in together?
I knew of her approximately a year prior to that.
What does that mean?
Well, I was best friends with her brother and basically met her through her brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you moved in together in April of 2004, did you move into her place, your place, or a mutual place?
My place.
And, Your Honor, it was July of 04.
She's probably right, Mr. White.
Yeah, we had a birthday party for me in April, so yeah, then it was shortly after that. That's correct.
What was the financial arrangement when she moved into your house?
Financial arrangement, we really didn't establish any. I paid my bills and she paid her bills. She did insist that she put her check into my checking account. That didn't have anything to do with this particular item.
Just a second.
Yeah.
She put her paycheck into your checking account.
That's correct.
How much was your paycheck, Ms. Rundell?
$16.88 a month. And it was not a joint checking account. It was his checking account. I did not have access to that account in any way.
When did you make your first deposit into his checking account of $16.88?
I believe it would have been the month of July. I moved in roughly maybe the second week in July after we'd returned from vacation.
So let's be on the safe side. Let's say August.
That would be safe to say.
And how many months did you put your paycheck into that joint account?
Every month.
Until when?
Until January. My paychecks ended in January. Unemployment
August,
started.
September, October, November, December. 5 months.
And January.
And January.
Correct.
So it's 6 months, and that's easily verifiable by looking at your bank statement.
No, I don't agree with her putting that much money in there. She didn't have any credit, so she was using my bank to cash her checks. I wasn't aware that she was putting that money into my checking account every time.
This is a savings account statement right here. I could have put it in my savings had I been allowed to. This shows that there was no money that went into this account until a tax return was automatically deposited in the month of March.
Do you have your bank statement, sir?
No, ma'am, I don't. I just have a check that I had wrote her. I didn't even know she had a savings account.
I don't care whether you knew she had a savings account or not, sir. You get a checking account statement every month.
Correct.
And every month you would see a deposit in there.
Right.
And that deposit would not be your deposit. I mean, we know what our deposits are. So she
Correct.
was depositing her check into your account. And that account would also show certain withdrawals if she was using your checking account as merely just a revolving door for her money. She was putting it in and cashing it.
She was putting her check into my checking account during the beginning of her stay at my place, and then we were using my check to write checks for all the bills.
It was not in name a joint account, but it was a joint account because that money was being used to pay joint bills.
Correct.
$16.88 per month.
Correct.
Are you chewing gum?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let us assume everything that you say is correct. That for 6 months you put in.
Yes.
That comes to $10,128. Now, why did you need an attorney?
I had filed a police report as a mandatory reporter with the police department there locally where I live.
Is it a criminal matter?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the matter still pending?
Yes, ma'am.
And you retained a private attorney?
Correct.
And you discussed that with Mr. White?
Correct.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, I had no knowledge of her making this report.
I don't care about the substance of the case.
Okay.
The need for an attorney, something else.
Correct. We did discuss the need for an attorney, and it was important that she hired a good one for this situation.
So what did you say to her?
So we made arrangements to lend her $5,000 off my credit card.
That's a conclusion, sir.
We had talked about this and discussed we needed to retain $5,000 for this attorney, and we decided to take this off of a credit card that I have. I had no credit card debts at all. One of the qualities she talked about with me is that I wasn't in any debt. This was a special occasion that I needed to help her out on, so I decided to take a credit card, dump the credit card into my checking account, and give her a check on November 28th for $5,000. She told me when she got her income tax that she would give me half of it in one lump sum and make payments on the rest, and I was fine with that.
That is not true.
Well, tell me what the discussion was, Ms. Rundell.
The discussion, there was never a discussion around the credit card, just like there wasn't a discussion about how we were going to pay our bills when the money was lumped together in the checking account. What we had discussed on many different occasions was how we were going to use the money wisely. This chunk of money, which would have been around $6,000 for the tax return, what were we going to do with it?
You were going
many
to
different. I was talking. On many different occasions, we talked about different things. We talked about we would take a trip, but not too far. Didn't want to spend too much money. We talked about paying a big chunk of it to Bank One credit card, which the attorney came off of. We also talked about paying off his Washington State unemployment money that he still owed when I moved in was $4,000. It was down to $1,500. We wanted to eliminate that payment each month.
All right, let's get back to talking a little bit turkey, Ms. Rundell. It is your defense that you put in your check into the account and you were living like a married couple.
Correct.
And when you moved in together in July, it was your intention that your money be spent on household bills.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't need an attorney until what month?
October.
That's not a household bill. So that what it really did was cut your participation in the household bills in half. Because if you deposited $10,000 into this account to pay for your expenses during the course of that 6 months, madam, and you withdrew $5,000 out of it for your own personal use, then it's very possible that Mr. White is correct, that it was anticipated that you would be repaying this account when you got your tax return.
It wasn't repaying that account. The tax return coming in and was going to be used to pay bills wisely, not just on a credit card. This has nothing to do with paying back the credit card. It has to do with Mr. White and his continued abuse and harassment that has not stopped and will not stop.
It will stop when he gets his money back.
That's right. Trust me, it won't stop.
There isn't a question in my mind that we probably wouldn't be here having this discussion if the two of you were still together. Because if you were still together, you would be continuing to contribute your $16.88 a month into this account. And eventually, this $5,000 would be paid back from payments to the credit card. But you're not together anymore. And Mr. White feels as if he's a fool because he had this outlay of money, and now you're not together anymore. You got your tax return back. There was discussion about paying back this, whatever, Capital One card or whatever it is. Some of the money that he gave you to pay your lawyer. You're still using the services of the lawyer, correct?
Correct.
Have you given the lawyer any more money?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you're still living off of that $5,000. And he says, minimally, our agreement was that she was going to continue to put her $16.88 into the account so we could at least pay the lawyer back from that money. That stopped. Listen, you want him to leave you alone?
I do.
Pay him his money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Ex-girlfriend. And they had a relationship, must have been for a while, because they have 2 children together. It is your complaint that Miss Cruz was in a snit about something, and when your boyfriend went over to her house to pick up or drop off the children, he was using your car, and she took out her frustrations on him by kicking your car and causing damage. Miss Cruz says she would never do such a thing, right?
Right.
When did this happen?
April 22nd.
You weren't there?
No.
But the boyfriend was there?
Yes.
And his name is?
Ben Mojica.
Mr. Mojica, would you stand up, please? Next to her. How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
7 and 6.
5.
How long did you and Miss Cruz live together?
So about 10 or 11 years.
Never married?
No, ma'am.
How come?
Just didn't get married.
Couldn't afford to.
Shh. Did you ever ask her?
No.
Excuse.
What?
He was going to buy me a ring, but I told him not to bother, so.
Did you tell him not to bother after your first child or your second child?
After my second one, when I knew that things were going pretty much downhill.
You couldn't have a clue to that before you had children with him?
No, he was actually a pretty good guy at that time. He just seemed to have went down the tubes, going to jail, getting into things that I don't want around my children.
Who is this man?
My uncle.
Uncle. Just seems a little odd to me that life has changed so much over the last 20, 30 years. That people live together 10 or 11 years. They don't want to make a commitment to get married, but they don't feel as if having children is a commitment. Just something doesn't balance out to me, so I'm always interested in this as it's just a social experiment. Do you understand that, Ben?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so on the 22nd of April, what were you doing over at her house?
They were having a toy party.
What is that?
An adult party, like toys, dolls and things like that.
No, it's like lotions and stuff.
What?
Lotions. It's for adult. It's for
an adult toy party. I shouldn't have gone any further. I thought it was a toy party for children. My mistake. Okay, so you were having an adult party.
Right. It's
okay,
not just
go ahead.
Well, I was with the kids, with Marcus and Tiaja. We were at Lori's house.
Who's Lori?
A friend of hers and mine. And Marcus and Tiaja were there with me. I had picked them up.
Your 2 children?
Yes, at the daycare earlier in the day. And I had called Tanya. Then she had informed me about they were having a little party, and her sister, Michelle, was down here from Hartford. And Michelle also has 2 children. And she just had one, so he wouldn't know anything really what was going on. Xavier would know, so she asked me, Ben, can you come and pick up Xavier?
Who asked you?
Michelle did.
That's her sister. So
yes,
her let's get to the story a little bit faster.
All right.
So, so far you're doing fine, but
okay.
we got to get there because I have other things to do.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so her sister said, can you come and pick up
Yes,
Xavier, who is how old?
About 11, I believe.
How old is Xavier?
He's 10.
10 or 11. You always
Yeah.
quibble over a year. So
Okay.
they wanted you to come pick him up because the party was inappropriate for him.
Yes, for him.
Okay, so you went to pick him up?
So I went to pick him up, and Marcus and Tiaja were with me at Lori's at the time. Marcus was hungry, and I had just ordered Chinese food. And I told Erin, and I told Lori, hey, I'm gonna leave him. He's hungry. He'll just have something to eat. Can you watch him? She said, sure. I took Tiaja with me, which is my daughter.
She wasn't hungry?
No.
She's always hungry.
Don't do it again! You want to know why? Miss Cruz, because if I see that you can't control yourself in the courtroom, how am I going to believe you when you tell me that you wouldn't dare do what she says you did to her car, because you don't have a temper like that. You can control yourself, right? So far, it's been twice that you haven't been able to control yourself, or 3 times. You get me?
Yes.
Even your uncle gets me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Go ahead.
So when I pulled up to pick up Xavier, Tanya was outside and Michelle was outside with her baby that she just had. So she came out to show me. I'm real close with them and stuff. And when she came outside, I said, oh, Michelle, there's your new baby. I'm getting out of the car. And she kept asking me, where is my son? Ben, where is Marcus? Where the F is Marcus? And I'm ignoring her because she gets loud and she's always doing that. And Tiaja, I look at Tiaja and I saw in her eyes, she was getting,
Right,
like,
because
what's
her mother
going
was
on?
acting inappropriately.
Yeah, so I said, Tanya, relax. Why do you guys? She goes, no, where the F is my son? Pa, pa, pa. So I kept ignoring her, and I'm talking to Michelle. She said, you want to ignore me? Well, I don't know if she chose those words or whatever. She went right around us and started kicking the car. And that's when I got off, obviously.
And?
There was people around, and I said, you guys saw that, right? You guys saw what she just did, right? Right? And everybody's like, all of a sudden nobody saw anything except one kid. He saw it, and I have a police report.
I'd like to see the police report, please.
And he's
Can't control yourself?
He's a minor, Your Honor?
No,
Can't control yourself?
I'm just trying to,
You're
basically
trying.
put my hand.
What do you think? You think that I'm not going to let you speak? Do you think that this is only a one-sided case, that only he gets to speak? You do know that both sides get to speak, right, Miss Cruz? In their turn. What's Uncle's name?
Vincent.
You get it, Vincent?
Yes, ma'am.
You get her, Vincent?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Because you're going to have to make a very important decision, Vincent, as to whether or not you want to speak later.
Okay.
Because you don't look like the kind of guy that wants to be humiliated. All right. Okay, Miss Cruz, now it's your turn. 2005. How many people were at the party?
At that point, there was probably about 4.
4
My
women?
sister, yes.
Where was Uncle Vincent?
He was not there.
So, Uncle Vincent saw nothing. Is that right?
Right. But when I went outside, they were outside talking. I noticed that my son wasn't in the car. I asked him, where's my son? He ignored me. Where's my son? In which he had told my brother she looked so good that I couldn't look at her. That was in his words. After he ignored me, I said, Tiaja, get out of the car, go get my son, bring him back.
Why did you do that?
Because he had just came back from Florida. For 2 years, he hasn't seen his children. So why are you going to leave your kids behind? And my daughter not being hungry, she's hungry all the time, but that's irrelevant. So I told my daughter to come in with me. We went in. He has a very bad temper, so I know not to provoke him. We went inside the house. He started swearing and, saying derogatory comments, in which I shut the door because I had company. I thought that was over with. I sat there. I got a knock on the door. The cops came. They know him very well. They ended up asking him to leave the premises. And 3 months later, I get court papers in the mail.
He made the police report that day, and there was a witness in the police report who indicates that they saw you kick the car.
I forgot to tell you. He says, I'll pay somebody to say that she kicked the car.
Ridiculous.
Is there anything that Uncle Vincent is going to tell me? No, he's just here for moral support.
Right. Perfect. Pretty much the women that were at my house are single working moms. And
well, they're single working moms, but you were having a party at your house, the subject matter of which was inappropriate for children.
Right.
And you had a 10-year-old child there.
No, my sister had called, and they got
She
along.
didn't call.
Yeah,
he called your house.
No, she had called him.
So she had called him to please come over and pick up her son?
Well, she had said, come see my nephew. You know, he's still a baby.
Sounds as if
She
your
was gonna
family
ask
doesn't
him.
dislike him as much as you do.
No, we actually, they get along with him.
Good. Can I see the estimate, please, on the car? And this was your car?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz, I don't believe you. I believe you have a hot temper, and I believe you went out there and gave the car a good kick because he ignored you. And I believe that you walked outside the house and you said exactly what he said you said.
I interrupted a couple times because he takes a long time to tell
Listen
us.
to me. What I'm telling you is I believe him, and I don't believe you. I believe that you kicked the car because you were frustrated and annoyed that he wouldn't respond to you.
I was upset.
Oh, I know that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $894. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You rented a house from the defendants. You gave them a deposit in order to move in. You moved in. You said the house was in deplorable condition. You want your deposit back. You want hotel stay and punitive damages for filing false charges against you with Child Protective Services. The defendants say that you owe them for rent and something that you stole when you left, right?
Yes.
That's what the case is about. Okay. You have children together?
No.
You have children who lived in the house?
Yes.
How many?
Two, my daughter Michaela, who's 5 now, and her son Austin, who's 6.
And how long have the two of you been together?
We've been together a year.
Okay. Where were you living before you rented the house from the defendants?
Back in January, I bought a house with my ex-wife, and she filed for divorce about 2 or 3 days after we actually signed for the house. So I had to move out by March 1st so I could get into a house with Rachel, because I knew Rachel from high school. So
I mean, are you a couple, or are you just sharing a house?
we're a couple.
Go ahead.
We actually got married January 4th of this year.
Okay, so you had to get out fast of your living situation. Did you answer an ad for the defendant's house?
No, we actually were driving around trying to find something. We knew I don't have great credit.
Listen, you drove around. Was there a for rent sign?
Yeah, there was a front rent sign.
And you
in the
called?
front. I called the number. And
In
I talked
what
to Janae.
month?
Middle of March. We called about the first 2 weeks of March. And she told me that they had a house for rent, that they had to fix it up a little bit, and that we could look at it the next day. When we met them the next day, I looked at it.
And?
It was pretty bad. They had like 3 or 4, maybe 2 or 3 couches in the living room with a bunch of tables, and it was just everywhere. There's stuff everywhere, every room. And he said he'd have it done by the 1st of April. And then he told us the deposit was $1,850, which is the first month's rent, which is $950 plus $900. And he'll have everything done by the 1st. And I told him that I have a 401k check coming in, my thing from work, and it was $1,300. And then I was going to borrow the money from my grandparents and my
Listen,
mom.
that's a little too much information for me. You saw the house. It was in deplorable condition. You said you wanted the house as of when?
As of April 1st.
Did you sign a lease?
We just signed a lease. And,
I'd like to see it.
This is the original copy of it.
Lease that provided that you were going to move in on April the 3rd for 6 months. Okay. Did you move in on April the 3rd?
No, he kept saying he had no electricity, he had no water in the house. So we turned on the electricity at the end of March so he could get the paint done in my name. And he had no water in the house. He owed $300 or $400 for the water. So he had to pay that off so he could get the water running. And then he'd never had anybody come up there to fix it.
Listen to me. When did you move in?
May 3rd.
You moved in a month late.
A month late. My parents came up from New York, and
I don't care if your parents came up from New York, sir. I have some specific questions. May 3rd you moved in, right?
Yes.
And you gave them the money when?
April 10th, because I gave him $900 before April 3rd, and then we gave him the rest of the money when my parents came up. And I got pictures of the house, the way it looked before he actually fixed it.
I don't care what it looked like before he fixed it. That's
Okay.
irrelevant to me. And when did you move out of the house?
The first week of September, because he had a deposit and I was going through divorce and I had a lot of bills I had to pay.
I don't
About-
care. So you had to give him first and last.
I got him deposit and first month's rent.
So the deposit was for any damage that might be done and first month's rent.
Yes.
So you owed him rent in June.
Yes.
Did you pay him?
No.
Why not?
He never came to fix our house. My daughter's room had no carpet.
Just a second. Was there carpet before you moved in?
No, not my daughter's room.
Is there anything in the lease that provides that he has to provide for carpet?
It has to be livable. That's
No.
what's in the lease.
Not everybody likes carpet, sir. Is there anything in this lease that provides that he has to provide carpet?
I'm pretty sure it does say something, and
Show
I don't.
me. I don't want to have to read the whole thing. Take a look. Show me where it says that your daughter's room has to be carpeted.
It says something about the conditions of the premises, including all grounds and buildings and improvements, unless they.
Listen to me. The word carpet.
I don't see carpet in here.
So the lease does not provide for carpet.
No.
Okay, so you didn't pay him for June. Your daughter's room had no carpet.
And her son's room had really old carpet. He said he was going to change in there. It was like shag carpet, and the whole house was completely destroyed.
Listen to me. You moved into it.
Yes.
If it wasn't ready, don't move in. So you moved in, and you didn't pay June's rent.
Yes.
Did you pay July's rent?
No, we had no...
Okay. Don't go there, sir.
Sorry.
I don't want to hear, you're fetching and complaining. You moved your family in, and as soon as you moved in, you stopped paying rent. That's what happened. I mean, that's the objective data.
Yeah.
You moved in, and you stopped paying rent. No June, no July, no August.
Yes.
And what were you doing with the rent money?
I was putting it toward my bills that I had from my divorce. I had a car that was 2 months behind, and like that. And we had a problem with her insurance and stuff at work, but the house is not livable. My dad...
Listen to me. If the house isn't livable, you move out. If it's not livable, you don't move in. And if it's not livable, you move out. You don't scam the landlord by moving in and saying, now I'm here. Now you can't get me out.
But I had nowhere to live.
That's not his problem. Is he related to you by blood?
No.
Who cares if you have nowhere to live? Go live with a relative. Go live with your mother. Go live with your father. Go live with your sister. Go live with your brother. But don't move into a stranger's house and say, no, I'm not going to pay rent because I got bills for my divorce.
I mean, we gave him $1,800 for the month. He never came and fixed it.
Just a second.
Okay.
I gave you credit for May's rent because he wouldn't have let you move in unless you gave him the 2 months.
Yeah.
Right? So you gave him the 2 months and then you stopped paying him. Outrageous. I mean, you're a squatter. And it's an old scam. You got yourself in, you move yourself in, you say, listen, it's going to take the courts 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get me out. By that time, they're just going to be so happy to get rid of me that they'll just say, go, forget it. And then you move on to some other unsuspected. Outrageous. You get me?
I get you.
Good. If you don't like an apartment, if you don't like a house, you don't move in. Does that sound right to you? You're the police officer, is that right?
Sounds right, Judge.
Right? Nobody's twisting your arm. You don't like the shag carpet? Don't move in. Doesn't mean that much to you. You move in. You want carpet in your daughter's room? Go to Home Depot. Now, the second part of your complaint is that they called Child Protective Services on you.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Your Honor, we never called Child Protective Services.
Just a second.
They called the police.
Can I ask the question, please? Did they call Child Protective Services?
The police did. Once the police came out.
So they called the police?
Yes.
Mr. Moreland?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you call the police?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me why. What month did you call the police?
August or June, somewhere around there.
Well, August and June are 2 different months. Officer,
I'm not sure, Your
Officer,
Honor.
could you stand up, please?
Yes, Judge.
Could you move over there? I know you're not a plaintiff's witness.
Certainly.
But you responded to the location where Mr. McLaughlin and Miss Browning were living.
Yes, I did.
You remember when that was, sir?
It was on June 25th.
And you responded because you got a call about what, sir?
We had a complaint on some photographs containing images of the adults with their children in pornographic poses.
And when you responded to the location, did you find anything?
No, ma'am, we did not. Not anything that related to the complaint.
Okay. Can you describe what you saw when you got to the premises?
When I arrived at the premises, I went inside the residence. The residence was in a messy state. There were boxes every place. It appeared as if somebody was moving out. Some trash, not anything that would be deplorable to live in, but it just appeared to be unorganized and a lot of boxes and packing going on.
But you found nothing untoward?
No.
Were you responsible for calling Child Protective Services?
No, ma'am.
Do you know who did?
More than likely, any reports that we take involving children in a case such as this gets forwarded to CPS automatically.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me, sir?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. You can have a seat. Okay. What made either one of you believe that there were photographs in there involving children?
There was, Your Honor. I haven't heard from McLaughlin for several months, and he didn't pay me for about 5 months, and he changed the locks on the premises, which on the lease it states here that if you don't pay rent or if you change the locks, I have the right to enter the premises.
Okay.
So I enter the home, and I see in the living room there's mattresses laying on the floor, 5 to 7 digital cameras laying around.
Did you,
Pictures.
Sir, officer, one more thing. When you went into the premises, did you see any mattresses on the floor?
Ma'am, I don't recall if there are any mattresses on the floor. I do remember the complaint of the video cameras. Mr. Moreland believed that there was some type of filming possibly going on involving the children in their rooms. When I responded, I checked on that complaint. I looked at the camera. Nothing that
What kind of
appeared to be-
cameras? So still cameras, movie cameras?
There are several different kinds. Still cameras, some video recorders, camcorders, but nothing.
How many would you say?
Approximately 5 to 7, but they were in broken states. They didn't work. They were not set up on stands. I didn't see any evidence of any type of recording.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you take pictures of what you saw?
Yes, Your Honor, right
I'd like-
next to the child's bed.
Cover all the pictures.
There was an open box of two open boxes, and he also had plenty of time before the police entered the property to dispose of what I seen.
Don't tell me, that's supposition.
That's not carpet. If I like to add some.
These were taken the day that you called the police? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay. Officer, would you step up, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Would this be a fair and accurate representation of the condition of the house when you saw it?
Yes, that does appear to be taken in June.
Thank you. Mr. Moreland was perfectly right to pick up the phone and call the police and have them come to at least look into what was going on in that house. You moved in, according to you, on May the 3rd. This house looks like a disaster area, an absolute disaster area. And I'm not even addressing the pornographic material that's there, which, by the way, you acknowledge that you had in the house, but you say it was, in fact, put away so that the children couldn't reach it. Well, somebody reached it. It may have even been Mr. Moreland, but somebody reached it. I'm not even addressing the pornographic stuff that involved what appeared to be young children, which is weird. The condition of the house would lead a normal person to believe that something wasn't right there. So he had an absolute right to call the police, and the police had an absolute responsibility to call Child Protective Services. So your complaint is dismissed. Now let's get to your counterclaim. You're suing for the rent for the time that they lived there. Rent was how much a month?
$9.50.
When did they move out?
They actually moved out in October. They did not move out in June.
June, July, August, September, October. 5 months. $4,750. Listen, they're scammers.
I know you are.
Period. Squatters and scammers. And based upon the photographs that I saw, not very responsible parents either. Now, you don't mind my not going into this grill that they allegedly took? I don't care about a grill. They owe you for rent. And how much did it cost you, Mr. Moreland and Miss Cooper, to get them out? Or did they just move?
They eventually just moved, but trying to fix up the house after they left, we had to end up filing a bankruptcy because of the mortgage and everything else wasn't paid. And that cost us $4,200 just to file that.
So you see, when you have a problem with your ex-wife and bills that built up during the divorce, and you go to scam somebody else, what happens is they get hurt. It's a trickle-down effect because they didn't have money to pay the mortgage because you didn't pay the rent and you refused to move out of the house. Perfect strangers had trouble. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, both of you. And I certainly think Child Protective Services should give another look to where you're living now. Where are you living now?
Decatur Township.
You know where that is, sir?
I do, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $4,700. Claim is dismissed. That's all. 3 children together. Yes. How long have you been divorced?
Since 1992.
And you are remarried?
Yes.
There came a time when your former daughter-in-law and her husband were having some difficulty, and the 3 children came to live with you. One of the children remained with you. Is this the young man?
Jeremy, my grandson.
He's now 18?
Correct.
But he's been with you since he's 16. And it is your complaint that during that time, Miss Hood was receiving support from your son for his son.
Yes.
And was not sending that support to you.
Correct.
So you're suing for that support, and also what you believe is her obligation to send some support herself for her child. Ms. Hood says that the meager amount of money that your son was sending to support his 3 children hardly supported one child, and that there was never an agreement with you that she would send support. She quite frankly thinks that it's absurd that you should come to court now and ask for what is $18 a week that your son was sending for his son's support.
Right.
Where is your son?
My son is there, Trevor.
That would be you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, stand up next to your mother, please. Your last name is?
Warman.
How many children do you have, sir?
3 by my ex-wife.
No, all together.
4.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a security guard.
How old are your children?
18, 17, 16, and 8.
Are you remarried?
No, ma'am.
Does the 8-year-old child live with you?
No.
Do you support the 8-year-old child?
Yes.
How much?
Right now we're going to court, and I'm in the process of getting medical insurance for her.
So the answer would be nothing.
Right now.
And how much do you send for your 16-year-old?
$69 per month.
Or $16 per week. That's what it comes down to. Or slightly more than $2 a day for your 16-year-old, right?
Okay.
Mr. Warman, I've just done the math on my trusty calculator because I'm not much of a mathematician.
He not only gives him money, but he also helps him. He buys some things. I mean, that's just not cut and dry. He bought sheets for their beds, but she didn't supply for their children's bed. He bought sheets for the beds because they didn't have any.
Oh, we're going to make him Father of the Year.
No, but I'm saying he does do other things. He doesn't just give the support. He does other things. He sees his children.
Miss Miller.
I disagree.
How many children did you raise?
4.
And who supported your children when they were growing up?
My husband's. And
what
myself.
kind of work did he do?
Okay, I had 2 husbands. Okay, the first one worked at the post office, and my current husband works at a warehouse.
Is your former husband the father of the children?
The former husband, yes.
The former husband, the one who was a postal worker?
Yes. And then I had another husband in between, and that was the other 2 kids. 2 children, 2 children. Well, it's like her. She.
No, don't point to her.
Okay, she's been married 3 times,
don't
too.
Point to I'm not interested in her. I'm on your team now.
Okay.
And let's talk about how many people live in your house?
4.
Who are they?
My oldest son and Jeremy, and my husband and myself.
You have your own home?
Yes.
You have a mortgage?
Yes.
What are the mortgage payments?
$1,100.
So you would say $1,100 a month. Okay, so that would be approximately for the 4 people, $275 a month towards the mortgage, right?
Yes.
How much would you say you spend for food for the month?
I spend a good $600 to $800 a month.
So another $200 a month for each of the adults?
Yes.
So now we're up to $475, just for food and the roof?
Right.
We're not talking about clothes or anything else. How can you justify, madam, $18 a week that your son is sending support for his children as coming anywhere near the kind of support that that a child needs, and I'm not talking about buying pillowcases.
Right.
We're talking about support, real support. Now, if your son has a marginal job and can't afford anymore, fine. That's all he can afford. He wasn't too swift after not being able to support these 3 children. He went out and made another one, right?
Right.
You would say that that's true.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 grown children.
No more.
No more.
At least she knew when she had enough. Do you understand, Miss Miller?
Yes.
Okay. Now, here we have $475 to just put a roof over their heads and to feed them.
I don't make that money. My husband makes money, and he's not his blood grandfather.
I understand that. I'm talking about your son.
Right, and that's what the court ordered him to pay was the $18.
And I want you to understand that that is ridiculous.
That could be. But
ridiculous.
Yes, it is. It's not enough.
$43 a month.
But the thing
It's ridiculous.
Right, but she doesn't have any children in her house now.
She should, just a second, she should have been paying support for her child who was living with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. All I'm saying is...
It's very little.
All I'm saying is he's not blameless.
No.
And you should have, before you look towards a stranger, because she's a stranger to you, before you look to a stranger, you should have said to your son, who works a security job, get 2 jobs.
Right. And every time I needed something for Jeremy or Jeremy needs something, he asks his father, and his father gives him money for this and that. He has.
I'm not talking about giving his money
I
for
know.
this and that. I'm talking about helping you pay the $475 a month that you say it takes to support a child.
Yes, more than that.
Believe me, it's more than that. It's just the roof and the food. But your first vision should not be to her. Your first vision should be to him.
That's why I go to him when we need extra things.
Good.
I don't go to her.
Now, what you want from her is the $18 a week she was receiving while he was in your care. Why didn't you send that to her, Mrs. Hood?
I was supporting my son. I picked him up. I took him places. I gave him money for things.
You're supposed to do that. You're his mother.
But that's not true, Your Honor.
I don't want to hear from you, sir. When I hear any kind of substantial contribution to your children's support, I will listen to you. But right now, I didn't hear any of that from your mother. I heard you took them and got them things that they needed. not saying to your mother, here is the $475 a month that it takes to put a roof over his head and feed him. I'm going to give that to you, and then we'll worry about everything else. So you have to be quiet.
Would you like me to sit down?
No, you can stand next to your mother. You're supposed to take him and buy him things, madam.
Well, I know that. And I also gave her support at the very beginning. Gave her the child support card. We get a little child support card.
$40.
And it was misused, and the child support agency told me that I wasn't supposed to give it to her because I still had custody of him.
I don't know what you mean. You gave her the child support card. What does that mean?
That's where the child support comes on a little, like, credit card instead of sending you a check in the mail. So I give it to her to help support, and I was told I wasn't supposed to do that because I have custody of him.
Well, that's ridiculous, Miss Hood. You may have legal custody on a piece of paper, but you weren't putting food in his mouth 3 times a day. So that's ridiculous. Why did you even ask somebody? If you had a card, if what they do is they don't give you the money, but they give you a card, and it's really taken off of the card, why did you even have a discussion with anybody about that? His grandmother had physical custody of him. His father was sending $18 a week support. As minimal as it is, it should have been sent to his grandmother.
At that time, I had 3 kids.
I'm speaking. This is not what we're talking about, 3 children. We're only talking about 1. So the question is?
Well, the fact about it is this is a divorce decree that I've had custody of the kids ever since.
What difference does it make?
That he abandoned. He denied his parental rights that I have here.
Listen to me. Let us not go back in history.
And then this...
Let's look at me. Let's not go back in history. This young man went to live with his grandmother 2 years ago when he was 16. I don't want to hear about when he was 2 or 5 or 7 or 9 or 11 or 13. He went to live with his grandmother at your request when he was 16, and he has remained there. Now, she could have pursued support against you while he was there. She did not. And I'm not entertaining that. I'm not entertaining that part of her claim. Support against you personally. I just want to know is that you have any valid reason why you didn't turn over the support that you were receiving for him from his father to his grandmother.
Because she, like I said, she had misused it, and then the power of attorney
How did
says
she
that it doesn't
misuse?
have...
Just a second. How did she misuse the $18 a week?
Buying dinner for the family and cigarettes for him.
No, I didn't.
Shh. Buying dinner for the family on $18 a week? That's ridiculous, Miss Hood. What kind of work do you do?
I did have a job as shipping and receiving.
Is right now what you're saying to me? I don't care what you did in the past. What kind of work do you do now?
I will be a flight attendant.
So the answer is you do not work now?
Because I lost my job because of her.
Is anything your fault? I want to know if anything's your fault. Now, something must have happened recently that got your dander up. You want to tell me what it is?
Yes. Back in November, her current husband choked one of my grandchildren, and the police were called.
Which grandchild?
Joshua, his brother.
His brother. And they went to court.
Not true, Your Honor.
I have
Don't interrupt her. Go ahead.
paperwork on this. He choked the child, and Jeremy told his mother that he will not speak to her again if he accepts that man back in the house after he choked his brother. Jeremy's definitely afraid of her ex-husband. That's why he's living with me. She took him back in the house. Joshua and Jeremy went to live with his father. She went to court and had child support doubled, and she has none of the children living with her. And that kind of got my goat.
Got it. Well, we get my goat, too. Is the money still coming out of your check?
Yes, ma'am, every month, every
And
week.
the children are living with you?
Yes.
When did you go back to court?
I'm going to court February the 23rd for custody. I've got the motions filed in court to get him in school. I got him in school this month.
How old are the children?
16 and 15.
Well, if the children want to live with you, that's where they're going to live. Because
ma'am.
at this age.
Because they don't want to listen to me.
Excuse me?
That's because they do not want to listen to me, and they feel their head.
For whatever reason, 15-year-old and a 16-year-old are going to make judgments, and the court's going to assign them a lawyer. And if the lawyer says, my clients want to live with their father, and unless somebody can establish that it would place them in a neglectful situation, that's where they're going to live. You owe her the $18 a week that you've been receiving from her son.
Even though he's back in arrears of child support of $2,000 that he's owed me for years.
Just a second.
And I've raised the kids all by myself without him even being in there.
Just a second. Listen to me very carefully. If he took custody of your son and he was in arrears in child support, we would not be having this discussion. We are having this discussion because his mother took custody of your son, and his mother supported him while you were receiving current support. Not a lot, a little bit. You were receiving current support for him, and you cannot do that You really cannot do that. You should have sent that money each and every week to her and said, I know it's not much. It's all that your son gives me for his support. As little as it is, I'm giving it to you to defray his expenses. You got it?
As she was so inspired about support, why'd she cash in my children's bonds that were supposed to be for their education?
But
to help
no. Speak. Let her finish. Don't interrupt.
To get my ex-husband furniture, a stereo system with surround sound, a $300 chair, if she's so concerned about support.
That has nothing to do with you.
Man.
If she, listen to me, if she wanted to take the $18 a week and blow it when you gave her the $18 a week and she went and took the $18 and put it in a Goodwill box, that's her prerogative. We're not saying that the money that you received for this child's support was enough to support him. It was not. It wasn't enough to keep him in orange juice. But it belonged to her, not to you, because you were not fulfilling your custodial responsibility by maintaining a home for him, which is the moral reason why you receive support. You were not maintaining a home for him. His grandmother was. So his grandmother was spending substantially more than $18 a week to support him. You had the obligation of forwarding that money to her. There's no discussion about it. You got the money, you keep it for a month, and you say, here's $18 times 4.3. I'm sending it to you by the month rather than by the week because it's just too much trouble. Because I know you've been taking good care of him. And I assume if she wasn't taking good care of him, you would not have permitted him to stay there as his mother. Okay. Now, Miss Miller.
Yes.
What she owes you for the child support is $1,028, because that's the support that you should have forwarded to her for the 2 years that this child was in her custody. That's all. Thank you. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you. To your home. Correct. You claim that he owes you some money for rent and for harassment and for a small loan that you made to him. Mr. Hood says that, as a matter of fact, he owes you nothing. Your relationship after he moved in changed, and that you told him he didn't have to pay rent. There was some point where he gave you the title to his car as collateral on the loan. It got very, very ugly. And Mr. Hood says that you actually kept some tools that were in his truck. He's counterclaiming for that property, and also he says that you've been harassing him. Is that right, Mr. Hood?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Hood, how do you know Miss Adams?
I did some work on her house about 3 to 4 years ago for another contractor, and I met her at a bar about a year before that, and did the work on her house, and when I got done, she was wanting to do some further work, so I said okay, and me and my girlfriend, we had a falling out, we split up, and I was asked to leave, and I went to Miss Adams, and I said, would you care to trade the work for the rent? And she agreed.
That's not true.
Well, it is true, because that's what you say in your complaint, that initially he asked to move in, and you agreed that until he found a job, because you didn't have a job at that point.
Correct.
According to her.
But he had one lined up.
According to your complaint, you said, well, you can do some work around the house until you start your job, and then you can pay me rent. Is that what she told you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. When did you move in?
It was around January. It was like maybe right around the 16th.
And what work did you do in the house?
She had a bathroom, didn't have enough plywood on the floor, so when you set the toilet down, the wax ring wouldn't fit right, so I had to build up some plywood around the toilet.
How long did that take you, Mr. Hood?
Probably a couple hours.
What else did you do in the house?
I patched holes in her walls. She had various holes.
How many various holes did she have?
Probably about maybe 5 or 6.
5 or 6 holes. With your
Two.
hands, show me how big the holes were.
Just like pinholes were.
Little holes?
They're little tiny, like nail holes.
It was where a towel rack had fallen off the wall.
Listen to me.
Okay.
Speak not.
Sorry.
Little pinholes. So what you do is you go to the store, right? You get a little tub of that putty stuff. You go like this, you put it in, you smooth it over,
Yes,
right?
Your Honor. There was like maybe some like that too as well.
Oh,
where
big
she
nail.
pulled a picture.
Big ones, so that you had to go like this
Yes, Your Honor.
instead of like this, right? Would you
Yes,
say
Your
it took you 20 minutes?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that now we have 2 hours and 20 minutes. What else did you do?
She wanted a wall framed in her basement, which I told her then I wasn't a framer either, so the wall would look good. To the eye, it would look good, but it wasn't perfectly level. I didn't have levels. I had very little stuff to work with. But I had just enough, and I got the wall built.
You built a wall,
Yes, Your Honor.
an unlevel wall.
Yes, Your Honor.
And, Mr. Hood, how long would you say that it took you to build that wall?
Probably about 5 hours.
What else did you do?
I'm not.
That's about it.
Okay, so that we have, and I shot. Put it down. So this is what we have, Mr. Hood. We have 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 5 hours. That is 7.5 hours. That is a full day, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You moved in on what date? The 16th of
Yes, Your Honor.
January? On what date did you start to pay rent?
I think it was like a month, roughly about a month after
And
that.
how much was your rent per week, per month? What did you decide?
She decided she wanted to make it $100 a week.
$100 a week. And you worked for a day. And you lived there for a month before you started to pay rent,
Yes, Your Honor.
according to you. So that would mean that you owe her 4 and something weeks in a month. Let's say you have $450 for rent. So let's say I'm going to deduct $50 for all the work you did for her.
Okay.
$50. Is that fair?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is too easy. When did you move out?
It was probably right around March. I don't know the exact date.
Miss Adams does. What day in March? Miss
March
Adams?
30th.
Oh, January, February, March. So he lived there about 3 months. How much did he pay you in rent?
$200.
When? In what month did he give you
The
$200?
last 2 weeks he was there.
What'd you let him stay for?
Well, I felt sorry for him because he was fighting for his children, and I took in the whole story about how the state had the kids in foster care and they were turning against him, and he hadn't seen the kids in months. He needed a decent place to stay where the children could come. And my heart went out to him. And once I let him move into the house, the state was allowing the children to come see him on Sundays, sometimes Saturdays, at my home, in my presence.
Is that true, Mr. Hood?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
And I felt sorry for him, and I felt sorry for the children until I found out what he was really like, and I believe the children are better off where they are right now.
Why?
Because they're on a farm with their aunt, and these two are in the bars nearly every night. He met me in a bar. I was DJing at that bar. I wasn't drinking. I was the DJ there.
How do you know that they're at a bar every night?
I know several bar owners in town because I do DJ work.
How many children do you have, Mr. Hood?
I have 6 children, Your Honor.
How old are they?
One's 21, one's 10, and little girl's 17, one's 18, and then the 2 and 3-year-old.
When was the last time you lived with any of your children?
Roughly about a year.
And then the state removed them?
I was removed from the house because of domestic violence.
You were?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Miss Adams. What else?
I have receipts for the loans that I gave him.
Let me see it.
All of those are receipts. And his bar tab.
I don't care about his bar tab. All these checks that you have circled are made out to cash, Miss Adams.
Right, because he doesn't have a bank account. I had to get cash to give him. It says in the memo that it was a loan to him on 2
I
of
don't
them.
care what it says in the memo.
Ma'am, he truly does owe me that money on that loan. He truly does.
You want to tell me about the lawyer's fee?
Yes, I do. He was in court at family court, and his attorney was not going to represent him. He called me several times, very upset, because he knew then he was going to lose guardianship of his children. And I said, I don't know what I can do. I don't really have a lot of funds.
When was
And he said, I think February 24th, January or February 24th.
Did you give your lawyer money on about the 24th of February?
Yes, I did, Your
From
Honor.
her?
Yes, you did.
I drove it
How
over
much?
to the court.
It was about $120, yes.
How much?
$150.
Which I paid her back.
He
Show
did
me.
not.
I don't have any receipts,
That's
Your Honor.
too bad.
Okay.
When did he leave and why?
He left the end of March because I had him removed from the home. Because
Why?
well, first of all, he was sexually harassing me, trying to come in my room
Not
when
true.
I was dressing after I'd come out of the shower.
Not true.
He had his hands all over me at his birthday party.
Who is
And
this?
This is my 23-year-old son. And
All right, at that,
several
at
events.
that point he left. Did the police put him out?
They came as standby, and I do have the standbys that shows the police presence for him to remove all of his possessions, with the exception of the truck, because I had the title to the truck as collateral, and I showed it to the police officers. Then he went and said he had lost the title and went and fraudulently got another title for the truck so he could come get it. And the police escorted him there. If there was anything missing out of the truck, he would have complained to the police at that time.
Okay, I assume he has a police report where that's indicated. You have
I
a
don't
police
have any police report. She said I could come back.
No, I did not.
She said I could come back and
No,
get
I
the
did
stuff.
not.
Stuff. I got most of it. There was some
Good.
stuff
Well,
I
if you
forgot.
then you should have gotten all of it, sir. Listen to me. My sense is that at some point or another, felt as if the money that you were laying out for him, he wasn't paying you rent, he certainly wasn't doing work around the house. He was drinking. There's no question about that because he didn't stop drinking for the 2.5 months he was living with you. If you're walking around with shades over your eyes, don't come to me to complain.
He had a job the very next day that he was going to start at $27 an hour, and I knew once he started working, I was going to get paid.
But
That's
you
why I
didn't.
got his
But
tools
according
out,
to
'cause he
you,
needed
you
the
didn't.
tools. Well, then he started the work on the wall, and the work that he did is so substandard that
Listen
it's going
to
to
me.
cost me $1,500 to fix what he did.
Well, that's your problem.
I don't think it is.
It is your problem because you're a big girl.
I really thought he was getting his life together for his kids. I used to be a preacher's wife. I went to Bible college. I was trying to do what we've been taught to do. I've learned now it doesn't pay to help people unless they're related to you.
And even then, not always. Let's get to your counterclaim, sir. Your counterclaim is for the tools. I'm dismissing that part of your counterclaim because unless you have a police report that indicates you still had tools in the truck, you got your truck back, you got everything back. If you're missing tools, that's too bad. So far, you owe $550.
He owes more than that. I also have telephone tape recordings where he tells me he owes me at least $900 and that he will pay it. I have a transcript and the tape right here.
Oh, well, that I'll hear. You have a tape that says he owes you $900?
That's correct. And that he wronged me, and that he didn't expect me to give him the truck. Well, he said he didn't expect me to give him the truck until he'd paid for it.
Well, he doesn't say he owes you $900. Matter. What he says is, look, Connie, I don't want to argue with you or nothing. If I owe you $900, I'll pay you. That's what it says. That means, sir, that she must have said to you, you owe me $900, right?
She claimed that.
I told him he owed more, but that's what I give him the truck back for. And
Listen.
I told him that in front of the police.
Hey, don't play with me. I've been in business a lot longer than you have,
The truck's
Miss Adams.
not worth even that much.
Well, just listen to me. Somewhere between telling him that he owed you $900 and you filing this case for $3,000, $2,100 got added
when I
on to
found
what
out
he
how
owed
much
you.
the damage was going to cost on the house, and he started harassing me. Even sent his girlfriend to crash my birthday party after he beat her up.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $550, which is what I said in the beginning. I believe that there was a relationship that was brewing.
No, I had a boyfriend, and I have a restraining. He took out a restraining order, ma'am.
Counterclaim is dismissed, so she owes you nothing.
That
you owe
the court threw out as a misuse of
$400 for the
justice.
rent, and $150 for the loan that you acknowledge. Goodbye. To sing at your son's birthday party.
Yes.
You gave him a deposit of $250. You want that deposit back because you claim that he came to the party and left after performing 3 songs.
Correct.
Mr. Singletary says that he came to the party, he was ready to continue with his part of the contract, but you had at least one unruly guest who wouldn't stop heckling him, and you did not take care of your guest. So that's his defense.
Yes.
How much were you supposed to pay him for the evening?
$450 for 4 hours.
And when did you hire him?
I'm not exactly sure of the date. I do have a letter that I did write him enclosed with my check.
Okay. What date is on the letter?
July 17th.
And when was the party?
18th of August.
How far do you live from the Gribben home, sir?
Oh, 15 minutes.
And tell me what happened when you got there.
I brought my equipment in.
What equipment did you bring?
Sound equipment, PA equipment,
And you set up.
and I set up.
What time did you arrive, sir?
I got there at about 10 minutes to 7.
You would do there at 7?
I was supposed to start at 7:30,
Okay, great.
and I actually started at 7:20 because there were guests there.
Okay, keep going.
So I started singing at about 7:20, doing everything basically that they've always heard me sing in the past at other events. It was about 8:10, still singing. They informed me that the sun was going to arrive. When the sun was to arrive, I was to stop the music and we're going to sing happy birthday to him. So we went ahead and we stopped the music. He came in at about 8:20. I've already sang an hour. And then the sun comes in and we all sing happy birthday. And he comes in, he walks through. I continue to sing. A lady came up to me and she said to me, "Can you pick the pace up a little bit? Can you sing something a little bit more up?" I said, "Sure, fine."
Not Miss Gribben.
Yeah, I don't know who this person is.
You mean the person who came up to you?
The person that came up to me. So out of respect to the household and the people that were there, I said, okay, fine. So I sang something a little up. I sang 2 more songs. Then the lady, she comes back again and she says, "Could you sing something, a little bit more up?" And I go, "I am singing up. What do you want me to sing?" She says, "Oh, I don't know, just anything, but sing it up." I said, "But if you tell me what kind of music you want, I can sing it." So then she says, "Oh, just go ahead." So I sang a couple of more songs. She comes right back again after 2 songs. And I said,
what's going on? And she said, well, could you sing something a little more up? I says, look, this is your third time to come to me. You need to tell me what it is that you want. So then she says, well, just anything. So I said, okay, fine. I turned the music off, and that's when I went in to look for the plaintiff. The lady that had been coming to me to ask me these questions, they were in the room together. And when I came to the door, they were talking about me, and they both turned red in the face because they were saying something. And then I just said, you know, I don't know who this lady is. I said, you know what I do? She wants me to do something that I don't know what she wants me to do, and it's total throwing off everything that I do as an entertainer. Within about 2 minutes, all of a sudden some music comes on, blasting, some kind of rock punk music. And I go, what are you guys doing? And then so she says, oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe that this is happening. And
Who said that?
The plaintiff. And then so
Well,
I
who changed
said,
the music? Who changed the music, Miss Gribben?
The bartender.
The bartender. Go ahead.
So then she said, you know, oh, Porter, you know, I can't believe this. And I just said, well, you know what? I'm an entertainer and I'm singing, and I sing with a feel. And when you change the mood of the show, it throws everything completely off. And this music, and the kids are just bouncing their head around, and you know, they're into this music.
So they're into music.
Up to this music.
Okay. You left because of this disagreement that you had with her son's fiancée.
Well, whomever this lady was.
That was the son's fiancée.
It was the son's fiancée, the girlfriend, yes.
Girlfriend. Girlfriend, fiancée. Now I'll hear you.
Okay, I remember it a little differently. First of all, Porter's a fabulous singer. I don't question that one bit. We've seen him at several venues, different places.
And nobody's ever had a problem with him?
Nobody that I know has ever had a problem with him.
Right, that's why you hired him, because you liked the way he sang, and nobody ever had a problem with him.
Super
so
singer.
now I'm hearing you.
But it's a little different. The times are a little different. He wasn't there that long. I remember it that he sang 3 songs.
Well, he sang more than 3 songs.
Oh,
Three
okay.
songs last half of the amount of time we've just spent together.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So I know you said 3 songs. That wasn't true. Keep going.
Well, what happened was my son's girlfriend did interrupt him. I don't know how many times it was. Porter came to me, what he's saying is true, and he was telling me what happened, and he was upset about it. And when he told me, I was upset about it. I had no idea. But I want to just tell you one thing that was a little different. Porter was going to come that day with a DJ. And what happened was 2 things. He was going to come at 1 o'clock that day, and we were going to go over the song list. But it was his birthday that day, and he called me and said his family was taking him out to lunch. Would it be all right if he didn't come? I said, yes, it's fine. We'll see you tonight. Okay. And then when he got there, I said, where's the DJ?
You mean you thought you were going to get a singer and a DJ for $450?
Right, well,
what planet do you live on?
I'm sorry, not a DJ. I'm sorry, DJ equipment. I'm sorry,
Okay.
not a DJ. I'm sorry.
So you had entertainment for the entire day. He was going to sing and DJ equipment when he wasn't singing.
Correct.
For $450. Keep going.
Okay, but he got his DJ equipment stolen, and I said the reason I'm bringing that up is I said that was no big deal. I mean, he sings beautifully.
Let's go.
But what happened was when he came to me and told me that my son's girlfriend was had interrupted him, you know, I told him that I would immediately speak with her, and he's telling the truth. When he stopped playing, the bartender turned the music on. So I told Porter, I said, I'll turn it off. I mean, I begged him to stay. I mean, I told him I'd do whatever I could to, What
did you say to your son's fiancée?
I asked her, I confronted her immediately because she walked in right kind of behind Porter, and I said, what's going on?
And what did she say?
She says, well, I just wanted him to play something a little different or something a little upbeat.
Well, it's not
I said,
up to her.
Oh, absolutely. I said, let me handle this.
And what did she say?
Oh, okay, you know, but I mean, I agree that she was rude. But what I told Porter that night, I said, Porter, I mean, you're terrific, and everybody here thinks you are. We want you to stay. I mean, I'll muzzle her. I'll do whatever you want. I mean, it wasn't unruly guests. I mean, it was he has to admit, it was family and friends.
Got it. He came to perform in good faith. According to you, you've seen him perform at many other venues.
Yes, I did.
He's never had a problem.
Well, no, not that I know of.
If he'd had a problem, you would have known about it if you were
True.
there.
No,
so he's never had a problem. You hired him. He wanted to do a good job. Clearly, something at your son's birthday was so distasteful that he felt as if he was prepared to risk your good offices to say, I'm leaving. I can't work in this kind of environment. You acknowledge that your guest was rude to him. He doesn't have to tolerate somebody being rude to him. You know, it would have been nice if he said, well, I'll suck it up and continue to play, but he doesn't have to tolerate that. He can leave. So the question is, was the time that he spent at your home worth $250, which was your deposit. And it was. He's an entertainer. He entertained. He came to your house. He spent an hour and a half there. He set up. He performed for $250. That's a bargain. He's entitled to $250. So, did your son have a good time at his 30th birthday?
We still had a good time, but it was an embarrassing thing.
Of course you still had a good time. Well, don't you think he was embarrassed?
Yeah, I guess I seen it a little bit differently, but I mean, I don't deny that he, you know, is not a good singer. I mean, I can't say that.
No, he was embarrassed.
It's just that we tried to do our best to make it good with him. I mean,
I believe that you did. I believe that you said, let me handle it. You
Yeah,
said
I
to
did.
your future daughter-in-law, let me handle it. Is she still the girlfriend?
Ex-girlfriend now.
Ah. See what happens? All things work out for the best. How much after the party did she become an ex?
Couple months.
Couple of months. See how things all work out for the best?
We didn't really like her.
You didn't
probably
really-
shouldn't say that.
Well, listen, you never know what's going to happen in the future, so got to keep all your options open. But it sounds to me as if he had a good time at his party.
He did.
Good. I'm glad. He's entitled to his $250. That's all. Thank you. And these are your two stepsons?
Yes.
Your two sons?
Right.
And your two sons?
Right.
When were you divorced?
92.
And for how long did the boys live with their father?
They never have.
Never.
Until one of them was kidnapped.
My question to you is, during what times did the boys live with their father?
The youngest one has never lived with him. The oldest one went there for a Thanksgiving vacation and never came back. In,
What year?
98.
Who's the older? You went to live with your father in when, sir?
2006.
So you lived there for 8 years?
Yes.
Did you see your brother
No.
while you lived there?
No.
It is your claim, Miss Roscoe, that your husband's former wife, the first Mrs. Roscoe, I assume the first...
She's the second.
The second Mrs. Roscoe. You are the third Mrs. Roscoe.
I'm the fourth.
You're the fourth Mrs. Roscoe.
Yes.
He's got something...
You're the
Well,
elusive, but he has something.
No.
Has been harassing you.
Right. I need to clarify
Go ahead.
what they said. First of all, Sean did not live with Bob until 2006 because he moved into my house in 2004 because he had nowhere else to go.
Is that right? You were with your stepmother?
No, I stayed with friends mainly because of I did not.
I didn't ask you for any other reason. Your complaint is that she harasses you.
Yes.
You want her to stop. She says
Right.
she doesn't harass you, you harass her. You want to know who's harassed?
The kids.
Me.
That's true.
So, Mrs. Roscoe, the fourth Mrs. Roscoe, that would be you.
Yes.
You have 5 minutes to tell me how she's harassing you
Okay.
legally.
All right, it
Let's
started
go.
in 2004 when Sean moved into my house. Bob did not live there. Sean did. He had nowhere else to go, so I let him stay with me. She found out how old I was, and it started from that point on. I have always been mistress, lot lizard. What else? All
Don't
kinds of
ask
stuff.
her.
Okay. I have emails. I have certified letters. She sent the same letter 3 times, 2 by certified mail, 1 regular mail, after she paid to get our address. This is the certified letter that she sent. And I have the email where she stated she would pay $50 to get our address again after she had contacted my ex-husband and his family members through Christmas and New Year's every year for 2 years.
I'm not interested in your ex-husband and
Okay.
his family. You're suing her.
Right, but she's trying to get our address. They don't
Listen
give
to
it,
me.
so she buys it. So
She
she
got your
sent the
address.
email she would pay
She
for
got
it.
your address. So
Right, but
let's go.
for
What
what
is the
purpose?
other harassment? Let's go. Go. You had 5 minutes
okay.
of moving.
All right, I'm trying. She says that the kids are not allowed to talk to their dad yet. They have an address, they have email addresses, and a phone number where they can contact him.
I haven't heard anything yet, madam, that amounts to legal harassment.
Okay.
Keep going.
Threatening to have my kids taken away from me. I live in
Just a
every
second.
day.
Just a second. Show me where she threatened to have your children taken
Okay.
away from you.
All right. In here, you'll see several references to where she's talked to my in-laws, my ex-in-laws, and she's surprised that they allow me to keep the kids there. She has made contact with them and tried to...
So what? Who cares?
I mean, there's no reason for her to bring me into her and Bob's business. Those are their kids. It
And
was
that's
his
ab-
support.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Miss Roscoe. There's no reason for her to get involved with you and your children and your former in-laws or anybody else. That's not legally actionable. It's just bad behavior. I'm waiting for something legally actionable. Like somebody calling you 150 times a day.
Well, we've had...
Like somebody posting things about you on the internet, defamatory statements, like somebody parking themselves outside your home with a constant surveillance of your home and police reports to follow that up.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying to
Yes,
you?
I
So
do.
far, I see annoying. So far, I don't see legal.
Okay, here's where she states about my kids, give it time, I may not have them at all. This has been going on for years.
Miss Roscoe, just because you say it's been going on for years doesn't mean it's been going on for years.
Okay, well, I've highlighted the majority of the parts. Right here, teach your children well for as long as you have them. It's not so much...
Just a second.
Okay.
Have you ever told the truth? You lie almost as well as your boyfriend. You can't beat
That's
him. He's
her.
the best. But you come to a close second. Who wrote that?
That's her.
And then teach your children well for as long as you have them. Well, that's a good idea. Teach your children well for as long as you have them, because you won't have them forever. You could have gotten rid of me by having my son call, but that would have been too easy.
Her son was 21 years old and had known her number for years. He did not even live in my house. He lived with his girlfriend where he had a restraining order put on him.
Do you answer these messages?
I used to. I deleted that name so she wouldn't have it anymore.
So you answered her?
Sometimes, yeah, when I took all I could take. Yeah.
All
And
right,
I
so
called the
good.
police.
Okay.
And
Keep going. Your 5 minutes are almost
okay.
up.
Every time Bob would send her an email about the interest on the child support that she got or anything, she would answer it to me.
So what?
Well, she has a history of harassing him and being mean and violent. This is a letter
Did
from
you
her
ever
own.
file a police report?
I tried.
What do you mean you tried? What does that mean, you tried?
Because they said it would be civil. They could not do anything criminally unless I could prove something civilly. So that's why.
No, that's not true. That's a lot of baloney.
Well,
they could not do something criminally unless you could prove something civilly? It's ridiculous. All right, let's hear about her harassment of you.
Okay. That would probably be the better way to start.
Go ahead.
It began between 99 and 2000. She started contacting my youngest son in Washington over the internet, and when I finally seen Berry Joe 99 come popping up a lot of times, I finally asked my son, I says, who is this Berry Joe? Well, that's Dad's girlfriend. And I said, no, it can't be Dad's girlfriend, because all that's Dad's girlfriend. What's she want? She wants me to go to the airport, and she'll send me a ticket, and I can go to Ohio. I said, oh, no, you're not going to Ohio. I said, I lost one son that went there for Thanksgiving and was refused to be sent home. I said, you're not going. She continued to write, and he got to the point where he got belligerent with her. So then all of a sudden, she wasn't nice to him no more. He was going to be put into the mental institute, and that started things.
You complain that she's harassed you. You have 5 minutes to tell me how.
I have blocked her from her name from my addresses, my emails, my IMs. She now goes under my ex-husband's IMs. She posted my social security number over the internet January 29th of 2006.
Why did you do that?
During those messages that you have right there, the way she was carrying on about how she was going to come and sit in my driveway and how she was going to stay at my ex-in-laws and stuff until she could get to me the next day and stuff. Yes, I did, just to shut her up, and it worked.
So you posted her social security number?
I called the cops. They wouldn't do anything about it. So and it wasn't
You deserve
posted.
each other.
It wasn't posted.
You absolutely deserve each other. Listen to me. Sounds to me like you two women deserve each other.
No, she just needs to leave my sons and I alone.
Listen to me. Madam, you have choices in this life. If what you're going to do is make a mission out of making each other's lives miserable, because somebody's got to start the text message and somebody's got to finish it. Right now, there is absolutely no reason to have any contact with each other. You have grown children. If they want to see their father, they will contact him. If they want to speak to him, they will contact you. They're big boys. So these two women have absolutely no reason to have any contact with each other. Is that right?
That's true.
Right.
Ma'am, I've got some more
Listen
evidence.
to me. Well, get to it, because now you have 2 minutes.
I've got some recordings I'd like you to listen to.
I am absolutely going to listen to recordings if you have them.
How did you work this? These are just a couple of the messages that come over my telephone.
You know my name. You ain't called me back within 5 minutes. I'm going to go find your little boy. And by the time I'm done with him, he will need you. But he won't be leaving Ohio for a while because he'll be in the hospital.
That was him.
That was
Yes, ma'am, that was me. Yes.
I would like to think that you're grown up enough to want to get some sort of help for your son, who you have no idea what has become in 7 years. As a matter of fact, it was he who pushed me, and I refused to have the cops take him. Nobody called the cops on him. He walked out in front of up and act like a 50-year-old mother, you can call me back and I will explain to you what happened. If you want to sit there and listen to his little pouty stories, it's all full of you go right ahead. But all you and Josh are doing is bob off to a point where the only person going to pay for you two sitting there acting like idiots is Sean. So if you think you can grow up and call me back, I'll be here for a
Nothing wrong with that message.
They get better.
Shut up. Listen to me. I didn't ask you for anything.
Okay. Wonderful mother that you portray yourself as, you would personally give it what's going on in your kid's life. But since you don't, that's fine. I will make sure he gets a ride back to Washington. You can either call me back and be mature, or I'll send him back via the Knox County Sheriff's Department. That's your choice.
Now, who's harassing who?
Just a sec. Shh. Quiet.
All I'm going to say is you better have made sure you got permission from his probation officer to take him out of the state, because she will know tomorrow that you did. You can either grow up and talk to me like a woman and quit calling Bob's cell phone like some tramp in heat, or I will file charges on you like they told me I could. And as for Sean, you're really teaching him a lot of responsibility to have him up and walk off of a job that he had for less than a month. Yeah, you're teaching him a lot, Deb.
Tired of him yet?
I haven't heard anything that's legally actionable, madam. Nothing.
No, it's just showing that who is calling who.
Listen to me. You text her, you write to her. She has. Listen.
Go ahead and write
she
that.
had evidently, Mrs. Roscoe. She had your son at some point living in her home. This one, and there was clearly some difficulty with him in the home. I don't plan on getting into what it was because, quite frankly, I don't care. It has absolutely nothing to do with this lawsuit. All I have to tell you is people behaving badly does not create a lawsuit. Just listen to me very carefully. Mr. Wonderful over here got married 4 times. You have a short attention span, Mr. Roscoe. In any event, what the 2 wives have done is they've made their lives miserable, at least currently, with calling and writing and texting and whatever. It's time to say enough. Because these 2, whether they're good kids, whether they're not good kids, whether they're difficult, whether they're problems, right now, how old are you?
22.
And you?
20.
All grown up. It takes 2 to make an argument. 2. Right now, you have no reason to have any communication with each other. Do you speak to your sons?
I haven't since September.
That's their prerogative, sir. If for some reason they don't want to talk to you, that's it. But it has nothing to do with her. It has nothing to do with their mother, because they're big boys. And if they wanted to talk to you, they would. So I don't see any reason for you to have any further contact with each other. Why don't you both consent to an order that prohibits any contact whatsoever, either by mail, by telephone, by text message, by any form of communication that we know of in modern electronics?
I had reported her to her work to get her
Your
to
case
quit.
is dismissed, madam. You have no case. I mean, I ask you a question, you go back into history. I asked you, are you prepared to enter into an order that says, I will have no contact with the second Mrs. Roscoe, either in person, by mail, by telephone, telegraph, pigeon, or whatever?
I've tried to obtain
Are you
one.
prepared to enter into such an order?
You bet you, ma'am.
Very good. I'll have somebody prepare it back there. Thank you very much. That's all. I didn't ask you whether they were true or not true. I asked, what were you arrested for?
I was arrested on allegations of domestic violence.
Was it the first time you were arrested?
Yes.
Look at me. Was
Yes.
it the first time you were arrested? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Better. When was the first time you were arrested?
Several years ago.
Having nothing to do with domestic violence.
Has something to do with domestic violence.
So you have 2 arrests for domestic violence?
That's correct.
Was it the same complainant in each case?
Different.
Different. Okay. You are a bail bondsman?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your claim that you received a call from the defendant in jail. You responded. You bailed her out of jail at her request. She promised to pay for the bond. She did not. You want your money.
Yes.
Defendant says you're a sleazy bail bondsman and she's not paying you.
Correct.
When did you receive the call?
Sometime in the middle of the night from the county jail.
What night? I'm not Karnak. What night would
I'm
you
sorry.
like to tell me it is?
July the 15th.
In the middle of the night. You were home?
Correct. In bed.
How did you get his number?
It was posted on the wall in the county jail.
You have your home number posted in the wall in county jail?
No, ma'am. It's an office number that forwards to my cell phone in the evening and weekends.
I see. I wouldn't think that you'd want your house phone
No.
to have a number. Okay. What did the defendant say to you when she called?
That she was in jail and she had to get out. She had to get to work the next morning. If she didn't get out, she would lose her job.
What kind of job do you have?
I'm an executive assistant.
For whom?
For a small media startup.
How long have you had that job?
Close to a year.
10 months?
Something like that.
Where did you work before?
I was managing a medical spa.
Where?
Walnut Creek, California.
Okay. Have any family here?
Just my 2 children.
How old are they?
6 and 2.
They live with you?
Part-time.
Who do they live with the other part of the time?
Well, my son lives with, my daughter part-time lives with her paternal family.
Maternal or paternal?
Paternal.
Paternal. So the father's family, father's parents with her grandparents?
No, his brother and his family, they live very close by, about 10-minute drive from where I live, and she's there a lot because I work full-time.
Okay. So you had to get to work at the media startup company when you called him?
Correct.
Did you tell him that you were going to take care of paying his bail?
What happened was I told him that I didn't have any money.
No. When you called him on the phone from jail, you told him I don't have any money?
Correct.
Is that right?
No.
Of course not.
Right. I wouldn't.
Of course not, because if you tell you, please bail me out of jail, but I don't have any money, and he doesn't know you from a hole in the wall, he's not getting out of his warm bed in the middle of the night. Madam.
Well, he did.
No. He did. The question was, did you tell him that you didn't have any money?
Yes, I did.
He says you didn't, and I'm saying I believe him that at that time you didn't tell him I have no money. Because if he's in business and he gets a call from a stranger, you are a stranger, right?
Correct.
That I want you to get up out of bed, drive over to the jail and bail me out. But by the way, I have no money. He'd say, call somebody else.
That's exactly what I said.
All right. I don't believe you. Go ahead.
We discussed that she had a CD, and the CD was maturing within the next 30 days, and that there would be ample
That she would have money.
Correct. In the CD to pay me out of the proceeds of the CD. And she didn't want to cash it in early because she didn't want to pay the penalty. I agreed to those terms within 30 days that she would use the CD.
Was this on the telephone?
That was on the telephone.
Okay. Because you did ask her the question about money.
Correct.
And when you said, do you have money, what did she say?
I have a CD.
Okay. So, did you tell her how much the bail would be?
Correct. 10%, $5,000.
Because she had $50,000 bail?
Correct.
That's a high bail for domestic violence.
It is.
Do you know why it was so high?
That's per the schedule in that county. That's always $50,000 for a felony charge.
It was a felony.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So we get her out. We memorialize our agreement in writing. She
Can I
signs
see it, please?
a bail contract and the agreement to pay.
Can I see it, please? Okay, so you signed an agreement to pay him the $5,000.
I had no choice. He made me sign it.
But
Madam,
listen to me very carefully, madam. You have a choice. Your choice is to stay in jail until the matter on which you were arrested for is tried. That's your choice. You chose.
had a different agreement.
No. This is your agreement. This in here is your agreement, in the four corners of this agreement. And what I asked you was, did you sign this agreement? And the answer is either yes or no. Not
Yes,
I was forced to
I did sign
sign
that
it.
agreement, but aside from that, there was an oral agreement that took place between me and Mr. McCollister.
I'll get
and
to
I
you in
had-
a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Once the agreement's signed, I get her out of jail. She says, now what do? I live 30 minutes from here. I agreed to give her a ride. She's worried about getting to work, so I give her a ride. And it's about 30 minutes away. So during that time, she tells me the entire story about the arrest, and I attempt to be understanding that, you know, she was arrested, and I'm sorry, and that's a bad thing, and you're dealing with a breakup, and, you know, how she caught her boyfriend with his new girlfriend laying on the couch that she paid for or she picked out. And the entire time in the car,
Would you look at me when you're telling me this story, Mr. McAllister? Look at me. Don't look down there.
Sorry. The entire time in the car, she says, I'm not a stalker, I'm not a stalker. I go, okay, sorry, you're not a stalker. No problem. Okay, I'll get you to your vehicle. Well, the vehicle's parked 3 blocks away from the house where she was living or where she was arrested. So there's obviously something going on there. Anyway, I get her out, she signs the agreement, and she refuses to pay me.
Just a second. When did she sign the agreement?
Immediately upon release from the county jail.
Okay. And then you drove her to her car.
Correct.
And you dropped her, and she never paid you.
Right. I made
When, for
repeated
the first time, did you contact her with regard to payment?
Well, within 10 days, we sent her an invoice, just a reminder of the payment terms, and sent her 4 or 5 subsequent invoices that went answered with these rambling letters talking about...
Do you have a copy of the letters?
I do.
Can I see them, please?
Those are her letters to me and then my responses.
Based upon our discussion, these are your words, when he initially asked you for your money. Based upon our discussion, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you and your business in lieu of paying you $5,000 for a relatively risk-free, as you put it, bond. I am still awaiting the opportunity to make good on my offer to work for your company. As you were advised at the time the bond was posted, I have not, or do not have now, $5,000 fee that you are demanding. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time of the unsecured bond was posted, I now consider your correspondence demanding $5,000 to be intimidating and threatening. What are you, crazy? Please do not send me any more threatening letters. You knew my financial predicament at the time bail was posted. I still intend to honor my promise to perform professional services for you. You never promised to perform professional services for him. Your own letter says, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you or your business in lieu of paying for the bond. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time, I now consider your... Discussions aren't a contract, madam.
Let me tell you what happened.
Yeah,
Because he's not telling you the whole truth. What happened? He bails me out.
Are you just a second? Are you telling me the whole truth? Listen, are you telling me the whole truth?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
About your children's living arrangements? You're telling me the whole truth?
We're not talking about my children right now. I want to tell you.
You mean you're telling the truth?
About what
Listen to me.
happened.
You're telling the truth sometimes, and sometimes you can lie. And when am I supposed to tell the difference? You see, I knew that you were lying to me about your children's living situation. That you're not willing to discuss.
What do you lie about?
Listen to me. My question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're lying, and how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth?
I do tell the truth.
But you just lied to me today.
About what?
You lied about your children's living situation.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
How did I?
Oh, yes, you did. And you know you did. You know that they live with me part-time, they live with some part-time, they live here because I work. It's not the story. But that's a story you chose to tell me. Now, you told me that with the same veracity as you told me that you had another contract with him. And my question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth and when you're lying?
What I'm saying is the truth.
Okay. Now I'm going to hear you, and then I'll tell you what the law is.
Okay. Well, he bails me out. He drives me to my vehicle. On the way to my vehicle, he makes comments about, and he says, well, it would be nice if a pretty woman like you worked for my company doing some sort of marketing and promoting my company, and maybe we can work something out in terms of paying for the bail bond that he posted on my behalf. So when he dropped me off by my vehicle, and before he left, he made me sign the agreement that you saw after we had the conversation of me potentially working for his company.
Did you get what you said to me, madam? You just said to me, maybe you could work for my company. Maybe you could work for my company.
And
that's not an agreement.
No,
that's
and
not. No. After that, nothing. You took that, and I believe that you said that to her. Well, maybe you could work for my company and do something. Maybe you said it to her. Who cares? It's not relevant. There was no contract.
I said I couldn't work for him full time as he proposed.
So he said,
no,
madam.
We can work something out, and you can work for me on weekends.
Your Honor.
Oh, listen to me. Listen to me. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
Yes.
No, I have
you
a
are, because
letter.
according to what you said to me, after you had that discussion, after, not before. You see, he said you signed this at the jail.
No.
You say I signed it after I had the discussion with him about working with him part-time, weekends, etc. If that was true, that's not contained in this agreement.
No.
And I believe, madam, that you are one smart cookie. And if he had this conversation with you where you made a contract with him, a contract that's enforceable, to work off the bail bond by working for him part-time, you would have put it in this agreement because you're already out of jail. You see, you're already out. Because you're already bailed out. So then you could either say to him, I'm not signing this. Or you say, it's not the entire agreement that we have. But you didn't. You signed it and said, I promise to pay you $5,000.
Well, he told me right there that if you don't sign it, I'm just going to put you right back to jail. That's what he told me.
I don't believe you. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
You're making it up as you're going along because if he said to you, you signed this or I'm going to take you back to jail.
That's what he said.
Your response would have been, well, then put in our agreement that I could work it off, right? Right?
I was very stressed. and
Oh,
I
listen,
didn't
it's
see
not the
what I
first
was
time you were arrested.
signing.
That's why I asked you the question before.
And
It's not the first time. It's probably not the second time that you were arrested. So pay him his money. You owe him his money. Don't be a con artist. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Years old, and she's one of how many children?
8.
How many of the 8 children still live at home?
4.
How old are they?
18, 16, 13, and 10.
Are you a working lady?
Yes, I am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a nurse.
Your complaint alleges that your daughter moved back home because she was having some financial problems. And she moved back home with her daughter, who was how old?
15.
It's your claim that that did not work out
No.
very well, and that your daughter had you falsely arrested for assault. In addition, while you were in jail on her assault complaint, which was ultimately dismissed due to her non-appearance, she stole some property from your home.
Yes.
You want to be compensated for the false arrest as well as for the property that you claim she took from the house. Your daughter says she did not take any property from your house, that you did in fact assault her, that property was taken from her, and she's counterclaiming. Now, when did your daughter move back home?
Sometime in November.
Do you remember?
Sometime in November, towards the end of November.
Why did you move back home, Ms. Vaughn?
I was in a car accident and I injured my back.
When were you in a car accident?
August of 2006.
And?
November of 2006 is when I moved in with her.
How long did you stay?
Until September of 2007.
Yes.
She stayed until October 6th, 2007.
So you were there for almost a year?
Correct.
Not working?
Correct.
Is there anything that prevented you from working?
Yes.
During that year? What?
The pain in my back.
Okay. So now tell me what happened.
Well, it started with a phone call while I'm at work. She had her brother and sister arrested, said that they assaulted her.
You called the police?
Yes, I did.
When was that?
September 20th of 07.
Tell me what happened.
Ray and Aunt Toria were in the living room, acting up, wrestling, I guess. They broke the glass out of the entertainment center. I walked in, tried to ask them what was going on. They were still acting silly, so I told them, go upstairs. You know, I'm calling Mom to let her know what's going on. They started getting belligerent. They refused to go upstairs. My sister tried to leave out the front door. She said that she didn't have to listen to me. She's not going to do nothing I say. She was going to leave.
You mean this sister?
Correct.
Go ahead.
I proceeded to close the door and I locked it and I was standing in her way. She then smacked me in my face and she pulled my hair. And once I got her hands off of my hair, she went to take off through the living room towards the back door. So I went to walk after her to try and stop her.
Why?
She didn't have permission. It was in the evening time. She didn't need to be outside.
Just a second. Were you left in charge of them?
Always. When my mother would go to work, I was in charge.
Is that right?
Well, I never actually said it, but she was the oldest one there.
Okay. So you told her not to leave and you locked the door?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
As I proceeded to walk after her, my brother then grabbed me up around my neck and pulled me down to the ground. When I got him off of me is when I got up and I got my cell phone and I went outside to the side of the house and I called the cops.
Doesn't sound like a very good supervisor to me.
Because the kids don't know how to act?
No, I don't understand why a 32-year-old sister in those circumstances would call the police to have her younger siblings arrested and carted off to jail, as opposed to saying, oh, listen, I'm going to take a breather, I'm going upstairs, I'm going to go in my room, wait until my mother comes home from work, and it's my mother's problem, not mine. But I don't see.
That's happened in the past.
Just a second. Has your mother ever called the police on your siblings?
No.
Right, because that's not what you do.
Right, because if she puts her hands on them, it's not assault. I'm not going to put myself in that situation.
What do you mean if she puts her hands on them, it's not assault? Why would you put your hands on them?
To discipline them.
Ms. Vaughn, that's not your job.
Exactly, so I didn't put my hands on them.
It's not your job to discipline them, and it certainly is ridiculous for you to call the police. What?
The police officers took pictures. There was no red marks on her.
I don't know what happened. I'm just telling you, whatever happened there, if they were fooling around, they weren't fighting with each other, they were messing around being big, stupid children and broke something. What did you break?
I didn't break anything.
What did you break?
I didn't break anything.
Well, there was glass broken, I understand.
They knew nothing about the glass.
When you came home from work, was that glass broken?
Yes, it was.
Well, the glass didn't break by itself. Anyway, your sister had no reason, in my view, good reason, to call the police and have you arrested. Number one. That's what you did. So what did you do? Well, you came home, you were furious with her, And you told her she had to leave?
Yes, of course, and she wouldn't.
What did you say to her?
I was more concerned with the children and finding a placement for them so they wouldn't have to go to Columbia and spend God knows how long in a detention center. And once I found a safe placement...
Where did you find a placement?
In the neighborhood with neighbors.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is your 32-year-old daughter wouldn't leave, and you couldn't have the kids back in the house while she was there.
Right.
Why wouldn't you leave?
That's not true. That was my place of residence, and the officer
Just a second.
pressed the
It was
charges.
your place of residence because you were living there, because your mother allowed you to move back because you were not feeling well. But that's not your place of residence. That's her place of residence, and that's her minor children's place
Where
of
I was
residence.
residing.
But once she tells you to leave, you got to go. How much rent did you pay her each month that you were there? Is not an answer.
I was currently working for about 2 months after my accident when I moved in with her,
I'm
and
not
I paid
talking
her
2 months.
$400.
Okay.
After
the last
that,
9 months you were living there, how much rent did you pay her?
$100 a month.
Ridiculous.
Well,
that's not
what I
rent.
could afford.
That's not rent. That covered your food. That covered your
No,
lights.
I bought food
That
for the
covered your
house.
lights, your electricity for you and your daughter. Ridiculous. So you were not a rent-paying person there. So you were living there at your mother's will. You're not a tenant. She told you to leave. You should have left. Continue.
Well, Friday morning they had a court date, and the judge also asked me how old she was and why wasn't she out of my home, and she won't leave my home. So I had to do an eviction. And I had papers to show that I went down and did the eviction. And I come home, I don't talk to her. My daughter witnessed her tearing something up. We had to call the police.
What date?
On the 21st.
September 21st?
Yes, ma'am.
Had she been served with the eviction paper?
Not yet.
Go ahead.
So they couldn't do anything because she was in a lawsuit with them by having them arrested. So nothing was done because she was allowed to tear things up and nobody could stop her.
That's not true.
Well, I go to work Friday night. I come home. I'm a night nurse. I get home at 6:30.
In the morning?
Yes, ma'am. Saturday morning, I walk in my home. My living room looked clean, which is very odd. The kitchen was a total disaster, so I started cleaning up my kitchen, and I read my newspaper and went to bed. I looked at my watch. It was 7:15 when I laid down. I do not know what time it was when someone banged on my door and woke me up. I mean, banged hard. So my children aren't in the house, so the only person in my mind who could do
Where
this...
are your other 2 children?
Geraldo, the 18-year-old, was there asleep, but the baby, I removed him also because I didn't want her doing anything against him.
Where did you send the baby?
He went to a neighbor's. So I have different ways because of her.
Are there all the children home now?
All of my babies are home now.
Go ahead.
So I woke up with this banging, and I get up and I sling open my bedroom door, and nobody's there. All the doors are standing open. So I look in my bathroom, no one's there, I close it. Garage door's open, I look, no one's there, I close it. I go out the back door, no one's there, I close it. Go through the front, no one's there. Where is her and my granddaughter? I did not know where they're at. So I'm yelling for them, and I'm walking down my porch, looking to the side of the house. I said, I don't know what their games they're playing, but I need to get some sleep. So I was going to go back in, but then I see spots of blood on the sidewalk at the end of my steps come down the porch. So now my heart is beating. Maybe they needed my help. So I'm looking, I'm following the blood, and I see her stooping down on a cell phone with her arm down, letting the blood flow all over the ground. So I'm yelling to her, get your arm up. What happened? Where's Sherelle? And she's acting like she's afraid of me, and she's running. So I turn around, I run back in the house, want to see where Sherelle is. I go to Geraldo's room, and I'm banging on his door. He's waking up, he's asleep. I said, well, is Sherelle in there? He said, no. I said, come on. I said, Tamara's bleeding. I said, can't find Sherelle. So I run back downstairs, I call 911. Then I run back outside because I'm going to have to stop the flow of blood somehow.
You called 911?
I called 911 to say I don't know where my granddaughter is, and I was trying to tell them real fast what happened. She's bleeding, I need to go stop the blood. So I'm back outside, and there stands my granddaughter with her. And I'm like, Sherelle, what did you do? What's going on? And she said, oh, Grandma, you know what happened. You did this. Click, after what she done to these children, I turn around and call my son. I said, Tamara is setting me up. Y'all need to get here. I'm fixing to be arrested.
Okay. What happened to the case?
It was dismissed because she didn't show up in court.
How long were you in jail?
12 hours.
How many days did the children, all 3 children, spend at neighbors' homes?
2 weeks. We were out of our home.
On what date did your daughter finally move out of your house?
She was ordered out on October the 6th at 4 o'clock. and I was ordered back into my home at 5 o'clock.
Okay, Ms. Vaughn, let me hear you.
The 21st is when she did call the cops to try and make a false police report, because after having to deal with my brother and sister the night before, my back was hurting even more. So all day long, I still had my pajamas on, my robe, my house shoes. I laid up in the recliner on my medicine all day.
What kind of medication were you taking?
Baclofen, Lyrica, and hydrocodone.
How long had you been on this cocktail?
Earlier in the year. I'm not sure exactly when.
After you moved out of your mother's house on October 6th, where did you go?
To a friend's house.
Where do you live now?
With my boyfriend.
Is this a boyfriend you had while you were living with your mother?
No.
So you found a boyfriend after you moved out?
Yes.
How long have you been living with the boyfriend?
Several months.
Where are you working?
Nowhere.
Why not?
My back is still injured.
Well, let me ask you this about the boyfriend. Do you have intimate relations with the boyfriend?
Obviously.
Back doesn't bother you?
Yes.
But you do it anyway. Is that right?
That's correct.
It's the same way you work. If your back bothers you a little bit, you get a
Sex
job.
doesn't last 8 hours.
That's not my fault. Now, listen to me. You're 32 years old. She has 3 minor children. If somebody has to leave the house, it has to be you. Whether it's your fault, whether it's the children's fault, doesn't make any difference. You're the intruder.
No.
You are not paying rent, you're not paying a
I was
mortgage, you're
paying
not paying
rent.
gas, you're not paying electric, you're not
Yes.
paying for the maintenance
I
on the
was
house. And
contributing.
you have, I'm speaking, and you have 3 siblings who are not home, who are minors because you're there, and they are into the house because you're there, so you have to move. And you chose not to do that. So now give me what happened when your mother came home in the morning that caused you to be assaulted.
She was still cussing and fussing, threatening.
Well, no, first of all, she was working.
When she came home in the morning.
She came home in the morning from
working.
I know that that's hard.
I'm
working.
sure.
And what did she say when she came home from work?
Calling me all kind of and telling me that she's going to get me out sooner than what I can get out.
Sounds perfectly right to me. Next. So? And what did you say to her?
Nothing. I was ignoring her at first.
Well, at first. What about, let's go to at second. What did you say to her at second? At first you were ignoring.
When we were in the kitchen and she was still fussing and cussing, she had her back towards me. I was in there. I started making the coffee. I said, I don't want to hear this mess this morning. And that's when she turned around and she hit me in the head with a metal pan.
And?
My eyes went black and I leaned back up against the refrigerator. And the next thing that I know, my arm is cut and it's bleeding. I didn't see what she cut me with, but that's when I started screaming to wake my daughter up and to get the phone so we could call the cops.
You have the police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. You have your police report?
No, I couldn't get one.
This is the one where I was arrested. Okay.
Ah, Miss Radcliffe. The police report indicates, in sum and substance, that a lot of things that you told the police officer didn't quite make sense. It did, however, say that when your daughter was in the kitchen, what she said to you was not some, just leave me alone. According to your daughter, she used some vulgarity to you and said, according to you, leave me the blank alone, is what you told the police you said to your mother. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then that's the last thing she says. She remembers that she got hit over the head with something, maybe a frying pan. While I certainly don't condone anybody using an instrumentality that was capable of causing injury to another human being, I can certainly understand the frustration of the mother of 8 children, 4 of whom are minors and who live at home, who was put in the position of having to take her minor children and pawn them off to neighbors because her 32-year-old daughter, who was probably perfectly capable of some sort of employment, has been mooching off of her for a year with her 15-year-old child on a cocktail of drugs, which is keeping her in a semi-stupor for most of the day. She was forced to move out. She moved in with a friend, and then instead of putting her life together and trying to do what was necessary to make a home for her daughter, she found some guy to support her for a while.
My life is together.
Yeah, your life's not together. If you're 32 years old and you're not employed and you don't have a career or some independent way of earning a living.
Due to a back injury.
Madam, If you can enjoy the bedroom with a new boyfriend, you can get a job. So, I don't believe that you have established to my satisfaction that your daughter had you falsely arrested. In all probability, I think that you did, in fact, clobber her. And I'm not satisfied that the arrest was false. And there were a lot of other people in the house, so I don't think you're going to be able to establish to my satisfaction that she took property from the house when she left. Now, Ms. Vaughn, on the other hand, is counterclaiming for the assault. And I believe that your mother did, in fact, hit you over the head. I believe
And
that.
also cut my arm.
I don't know
have
about that.
pictures.
You may have cut your arm when you fell.
I didn't hit
Who
her
knows?
either.
I didn't fall.
I have no idea how that happened, neither do you.
It's
And
not
neither
in-
to me. I don't know how you got cut, Ms. Vaughn. In any event.
I know how I got cut because she cut me.
Well, good. Okay, fine. In any event, I also don't think that you can establish to my satisfaction that she took any of your property while she was in jail by having these two children act on her behalf and take property
It wasn't
out of the
those
house.
two children. It was all 4 children plus
Who knows?
the other
Who
grown
knows?
child.
Who knows? You don't know that for a fact. You
I do know that
speculating.
for a fact because I was standing right there watching them half the time take the stuff out the house.
Oh, good. So tell me what you saw children take out of the house.
All of this, a lot of the stuff that she's claiming that I took out.
Just a second. Tell me what...
My property came up
tell
missing
me.
when I was gone out of the house.
Okay. Ms. Vaughn, I think you are absolutely entitled to being compensated by your mother for all the aggravation she caused you by you living in the house without her permission, forcing her to take her children and put them elsewhere.
Without
And
permission
I'm
of what?
speaking.
Without permission
I'm
of what?
speaking. I think without living there without permission, you did not have her permission when she told you to move. And I believe she assaulted you. And I believe that you have to be compensated for that, for exactly what it's worth, for all the aggravation that your mother caused you. So I'm awarding you on your counterclaim the sum of $1. That's all. Goodbye. According to the complaints that I read, each of you, through your parents or guardian, suggests that the other assaulted him at a sleepover party you were having at somebody's house. Both of you claimed that you were injured.
Yes, ma'am.
And since the parents weren't there and the sister wasn't there, you're going to stand up on your own and tell me when this was and what happened.
Yes, ma'am.
I would suggest to you, if you think about lying, turn around and leave. If you think about stretching the truth, it will be a very unfortunate day for you. So I expect to hear from you nothing but the
Truth.
correct. What's your first name?
Trevor.
And yours?
Justin.
How long had you been friends?
A few years.
And tell me when this incident happened. Where were you, Trevor?
I was at my friend Austin's house.
How many people were there?
About 6.
Remember the date?
No, ma'am.
Do you remember the date?
No, ma'am.
Do you remember the month?
No. I'm honestly not sure.
Did you have medical bills?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you had bills, then I bet you your mother remembers what date this happened. What date?
September 5th, 2007.
Where were Mr. Austin's parents?
They were back in their room.
And there were 6 people sleeping over?
Yes, ma'am. We were in the living room. We were all playing around. We were having a pillow fight, just playing around. And I decided I wanted to stop, so I sat down and was watching TV, and I was hitting the back of the head with the pillow, like, really hard. And I turned around and asked my friend who did it, and he said Justin. I assumed Justin Townsend.
You assumed it was him?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
didn't see him, did you? But somebody else said Justin. How many Justins were there?
2.
So you went over to this Justin, and what did you do?
I hit him with the pillow.
You hit him. What was he doing when you hit him?
He was sitting down.
So he wasn't doing anything?
No, ma'am.
Did you hit him in the face or in the back?
I wasn't paying attention to where I hit him. I just hit him with the pillow.
Did you hit him because you were angry?
Yes, ma'am.
So I assume you hit him as hard as you could.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened?
I turned around to walk off. I heard him say something, so I turned back around and I was hit in the face.
By whom?
By him.
And?
I was hit in the face and knocked back on my back. I got back up and went into the kitchen, and I saw blood, so I went back in there and grabbed a lamp and hit him with the lamp.
And?
After I hit him with the lamp, I walked back into the kitchen. He walked after me and asked me if I wanted to even out the other eye, and I grabbed a knife and told him if he came any closer, I would cut him, which
Yeah?
I understand was the wrong thing to do. And
The whole thing was the wrong thing for you to do.
yes,
You hit him first.
yes, ma'am.
Don't you get that?
Well,
What do you mean, well?
He was under the impression that it was Justin
I
Townsend.
don't
who
care
hit
what he
him.
was under the impression that it was Justin who hit him. It wasn't. Right?
No, ma'am.
So you made a mistake. You picked the wrong Justin.
Yes, ma'am.
And you hit him. as hard as you could.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you were angry. And he got up and he hit your back.
Yes, ma'am.
And he gave you a black eye.
Yes, ma'am.
So you went into the kitchen, saw you were bleeding, came out, picked up a lamp, an object. So far you've been playing with feathers and fists. So you pick up a lamp and you hit him in the head. And then you went and got a knife. What is wrong with you?
Nothing's wrong with me.
I mean, why would you sue him? Your son did absolutely the wrong thing. Now you can stand up next to him. Your son, you can stand up next to your brother. Your son did absolutely the wrong thing.
Well, according to what the witnesses at the party told me.
Don't tell me what the witnesses told you, madam. That's hearsay.
Okay.
That's
well,
what your son says.
Okay.
Your son was there, not somebody that I can't question because they're not here.
Okay, well then
your
I
son
won't-
gave me the whole scenario. His
he,
words.
He did, and he hit Justin with a pillow, and Justin turned around and hit him with on a chair, jumped and punched him in the face.
So what? Out of nowhere, for no reason, your son came up and, according to him, using all of his strength, because he was angry, hit him. For no reason. And he got punched back. And then your son went and got an instrument, a lamp, and hit him with the lamp.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he went and got a knife.
To defend himself, yes.
What do you mean to defend himself?
Because he had threatened that he was going to come back and punch even out his other eye. He didn't want any further more.
He hit him with a lamp.
Correct.
Mr. Townsend hit him one time in retaliation for him being hit. Your son hit him once with a pillow, hit him twice using a lamp, and then picked up a knife. You're lucky he wasn't arrested. So your complaint is dismissed. Now, were you injured?
Just slightly. I had a bruise from where he hit me with the lamp.
Where did he hit you with the lamp?
Hit me in my ribs in this area.
You owe him an apology. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Say, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I forgive you.
Is that sufficient?
Yes, ma'am.
Made a mistake, Mrs. Weatherford. Your son was the aggressor.
I didn't feel that
Aggressors
way.
sometimes get the worst of a fight. In this case, your son was very lucky. All he ended up with was a black eye. If he would have used the knife or used the lamp in a different place, it could have been a lot worse for him.
Ma'am, he ended up with a lot more than a black eye.
How many times did he get hit?
He got hit once, but he got hit very hard, and it wasn't with a pillow.
No, he got hit with a fist.
Yes, he did.
That's what he deserved.
I don't feel that.
Well, that's too bad what you feel. I'm telling you, legally, your son had no right because he picked the wrong Justin to hit him. He didn't inquire sufficiently.
That's your opinion.
No, that's the law.
Okay.
And if you want to continue to defend him, this isn't the last time you're going to be in court with him. You better learn to say, you made a mistake, dear. You're a big boy. How old are you?
14, ma'am.
14. And how tall are you?
6.
6
foot.
feet.
Yeah.
Right? Still growing. So you have to teach a child who's 14 years old. How much do you weigh?
220.
Who's 6 feet tall and weighs 220 pounds, that if he hits somebody, slams them with all of his might with a pillow, he can hurt them. Can knock out an eye, break something. Fortunately, that didn't happen. But when somebody who is, how much do you weigh?
120.
Who weighs 100 pounds less, punches him back and happens to connect, that's part of the risk. So you better teach him. Because right now, you're not teaching him anything. You're still making excuses for his behavior. Your case is dismissed.
Thank you.
You got an apology?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, that's all. It's in an apartment or a house?
Correct. It was a 2-bedroom apartment above the downtown plaza.
And you met each other at work?
Yes, we did. We
that's all.
We're co-workers.
Sure. Signed the lease when?
On August 21st of last year. I have that with me if you'd like to see it.
Okay, and when did you move out?
It was January.
January what?
9th.
And you claim they moved out owing you money?
Yes, they did.
There's lots of other things that you're claiming, some of which is nonsense, but you claim that they owe you some money. One of the things they owe you money for is that they had not paid their entire security deposit.
They had not paid the deposit.
Just answer my question.
Yes, they had not.
They had
paid
not
part.
paid the entire security deposit. You paid it, they were supposed to pay you back, and there was some money outstanding.
Correct.
When they moved out on January 9th, 2008, in what condition was the apartment?
There were some burn marks in the carpet in the bedroom that they were in. There's nail holes, things that weren't there before.
Okay, do you have photographs of the burns on the carpet?
No, I do not.
Were there burns on the carpet?
There might have been. We did smoke in the bedroom, yes.
Okay. Because if there was no damage to the apartment, then of course I would say to the plaintiff, you're going to get the security deposit back, so they don't have to pay you any more security deposit. But if there was damage that you did to the apartment, then you have to pay your half of the security deposit, because in all probability, the landlord is going to make her replace the carpet and charge her. Is that reasonable?
It is, but we don't believe we owe her anything because we have overpaid her on deposit.
Show me.
We don't have any proof of it, but we overpaid her over the deposit. We do believe we have.
Well, show me. What do you mean we believe?
We don't have
What did you poke him for? You want him to say something?
We don't have any proof because we did pay her. We believe we did.
How much did they pay you in the security?
They paid me $360. The arrangement was I
How
paid
much was the security deposit? Let's do
The
this.
$300 was what I put down that day for the deposit.
In total?
In total.
So they owed you $150?
No, the way it was we had our bills split 3 ways. Deb Schultz is a witness to that, that we agreed to split all bills, including electric, cable, deposit, rent, everything.
3, that they owed you $600? I want to know how much they owed initially for the security deposit, Ms. Decker.
They owed $200 initially, but they did not have money at the time.
I understand
so
that.
I paid it all.
I understand that.
Okay.
How much did they give you towards the $200 in security deposit that they owed?
They gave me $360. They paid my part of the rent for September, October, November, and December, which was $90. And they also were paying me back for the $200 that I put down in the beginning to help buy food and everything because they, once again, didn't have any. So the total was $500. They paid $360 out of that by paying the rent.
So according to you, they owe $140 in security deposit?
Right. That's what they have left over from that particular amount, right.
What else do you think they owe you for?
They owe me for the cable and electric for the time which they were there from November to December because we had backed bills.
Just 1 second. They left January 9th. Did they pay January's rent?
They paid January's rent, correct.
Good. Okay, because they should have paid January's rent because they were there until the 9th, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Why did you move out?
We couldn't handle her anymore. She became overpowering.
Okay, so there was a problem.
Correct.
You have bills showing that there were balances as of December 31st on any of the utilities?
I do.
Show me.
That's electric. This is cable. I have the amounts highlighted that I paid, and this is the receipt for the electric that I paid my share of. All that's left is what they have to pay.
When was the last time you paid utilities?
I paid utilities last
No, I'm
month.
talking to you.
We didn't pay them.
No. You're showing me a bill from January 12th, 08 to February 11th, 08. They weren't living
Right.
there then.
That's what was due before.
Oh, balance brought forward $62.
Uh-huh.
62. So they owe $40.
No, the whole balance, the 164, is what was owed from the months before.
No,
It
that's
was-
not true.
The $150 is what we
That's not
ultimately
true. Not according to this. According to this, payments received was $150.
$150 was what was paid. $62.19 was what was left over as a back balance.
$62.19 was what was left over from that bill. The other money is for the current service, which was from January 12th, 08 until February 11th, 08. I can read a bill.
Okay. Well,
So they owe $40 on this. Okay. The City of Fairmount Public Utilities was $364.
correct.
And they're supposed to pay 2/3 of that.
Right.
Okay, so they owe you $280 in utilities and $140 for their security deposit. And what else do you think that they owe you for?
For slander,
Go ahead.
they told my boyfriend's mom here, Deb Schultz, that I was smoking marijuana, and that led to a lot of tension between him and I. We actually almost broke up over it because he disagrees with it along with
Did
drinking.
you tell this lady that she was smoking marijuana?
No, we did not. We do not have her number in any way. We don't have any problem with Deb Schultz in any way. She has been very helpful with the apartment in the beginning. Like I said, we do not have her phone number.
Your last name is?
Schultz.
You are the mother of the
her
boyfriend.
Yes.
Go ahead. Well, who called you?
I ran into them.
Oh, so nobody called?
No. I ran into them. They
When?
told me in December sometime.
Okay.
And they told me that Audrey was using drugs. So my
Did
son,
you ask what kind?
Yes, and she told me it was marijuana. And my son is really against girlfriends using any kind of drugs or
Okay,
alcohol.
So now she says it wasn't by phone, it was when you ran into each other. Did that happen?
I do not recall that.
Well, she does. Why would she lie about that?
I don't know, but I do not recall that.
Did she use marijuana while you were living together?
Yes, she did.
When?
Well, we were at a friend's house, and I was in the bedroom with my friend, with her daughter, watching a movie, and she was in there with my friend's boyfriend and Mark, and they were having a conversation about using marijuana, and Mark overheard it.
Overheard what?
Overheard the conversation about them using drugs. And Audrey had asked Mark not to tell me. On the way home, he told me.
What did you overhear, sir?
They were talking about hiding it, not letting me see it, but then giving it to my friend's boyfriend. And
But in all the time that you lived together with the plaintiff, she never smoked marijuana in your presence.
No.
What are you poking him for?
I didn't.
not to my knowledge, but
Well, you would not to your knowledge. You have eyes.
she would hide it. She would go out with friends, and
Don't tell me what she would hide it, sir. I'm asking you a very simple question. You never saw her smoke marijuana while she was in your presence.
no, ma'am.
Did you?
No.
First of all, they don't always get things right when they hear things. Is this your boyfriend?
Yes.
Step away from her for a second. That's fine. Have you ever said something to him and then a week later you say, don't you remember I told you that? And he says, you never said that to me. You told me this. So you never said that to you? That never happened?
Sometimes it happens.
Oh,
but
listen.
more than likely he pays attention because...
But I'm just asking you. Never said to you, you didn't say that. That's not what I heard. I don't remember you telling me we had this date. I don't remember you telling me your mother was coming over. I don't remember you telling me we're going out with your sister. None of that. No. It'll happen. They don't always get it right. And to have relied on that statement to make that statement to her boyfriend's mother was probably not good judgment.
Well, he wouldn't lie to me about marijuana because he knows my stance on it. He knows I disagree with it.
Well, and if you said to me that I saw her smoking marijuana I smelled it in the house, that's another story. But for all you know, she could be puffing and she could be showing off for a friend. You don't know that that's true. You lived together for 5 months and you never saw any evidence of it in your home. Saw, smelled, felt, right? So you probably should have kept your nose in your own business.
Well, we did have a conversation about her drug usage a while after that night at my friend's house, and she had admitted to doing it.
What did she say to you?
And she said she was going to continue doing it because she liked it. And I told her I do not agree with it.
Fine, you can have to agree with it. You're not her moral police. As long as she's not doing it in your home. It's not your business, but that's not slander.
No, what happened was...
It's not slander.
Okay. Well, I was talking about a different incident. There's
don't-
something also very different that happened with work.
Do you have witnesses from work?
I do not have witnesses from work, but I do have my suspension paper. I got suspended because they were very good friends with this guy at work.
Listen to me.
Who?
That's all hearsay.
Even though I have a document saying that I was suspended?
Okay, whether you were suspended or not, I have to have a witness to tell me why you were suspended.
Well, the paper says why.
How do I know if the information they got from them is the only reason that they had to think that you were using drugs? How do I know that? That's not legal in a court. You can't use that as evidence in a court. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, fine. They owe you $320 for their share of the security deposit and the bills that they have. And next time, you have to be careful when you talk about somebody else's reputation. Do you understand? That's all. Loans, she has...
पिक्चर ले गए पूरा घुमाने लग गया 360 के एंगल किलो प्लेट मेरा ये इसको रख दे ऊपर में गिराना बाकी खैर है ये दोस्तों हमने बकरा बनाया है देखो बहुत अच्छा लगा हमें ये फॉइल पेपर के अंदर जो है नमकीन बस शक्ल नहीं यार बाप ब्रो शादी भाई आप बताओ प्लीज यार ओके असी भाई वाह भाई जी ये हमारे उमर भाई यार ये चेक करो बोटी का वो इधर आ तेरे को बोटी दिखा के क्या है उधर दिखा टॉम एंड जेरी वाला गोश्त ये दिखा ये देख आए बकचोदी में लगे ओए तो जल्दी ये अबे बंद क्यों किए ये दिखाते ये लो नहीं चल रहे ओए नहीं पकी नहीं है रुक जा नहीं कैसे नहीं पकी हुई अभी नहीं कच्ची है इधर आओ यार सारे चेक कर उमेर हाँ कैसी है कच्ची है मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना तुम मानते नहीं हो ना कहते इसमें इतना टेस्ट नहीं है हाँ ज़्यादा नहीं गाजी थोड़ी सी पर रख दे ओए कौन है ये इसको प्लेट किसकी अभी रख इधर ही यार Si baik. फिर गया वहाँ से